another fun-filled episode of Uninformed Movie Reviews. It's me, Danny Two Hands, hanging out here with the Penionator and with old Franklin at a table of chicanery. And boys, it's gonna be a long night. So let's get this Shyamalan.
You said everything so like sultry and serious and just like calm, and it was all ridiculous. Everything you did there was ridiculous. Even glad you got the little bump on your hat on your microphone.
I did. I'm glad I kept that in there. You're gonna keep that.
What a mixed bag we're about to get into, boys. I've never been so annoyed and thrilled at the same time doing one of these ranking episodes before.
There's the lowest lows we've ever had on a ranking episode. Well,
no, I concur.
Yeah, maybe there's a Tremors movie that's worse than this.
No.
Maybe there's a Tremors movie that's worse than this.
At least the Tremors movies are watchable.
Go check out our last episode.
All right, maybe not number 7.
Okay.
Yeah, this was a chore in some parts and a joy in other parts.
Yeah, it's weird how far the pendulum swings on this one.
This is also the longest movie ranking we've done as a channel.
11
Achievement
movies that we're talking
unlocked.
about. And, if you don't mind, let me hit these movies real quick that we'll be talking about today. We are skipping...
Are you going alphabetical or chronological?
Chronological.
Makes sense.
Of course, girl. We're skipping 2 movies, Praying with Anger 92 and Wide Awake from 98. Praying with Anger is not really like a wide release, and Wide Awake is, but it's very much a forgettable film to the point where I always see The Sixth Sense referred to as like his breakout debut or something, or like everyone thinks of The Sixth Sense as his first movie, and that's what I always thought.
It's like his Pablo Honey.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, but even worse though, because there's no creep of Wide Awake. You know what I mean? There's not even that one tune. What's going on? You kicked my cat?
I'm breaking the equipment here. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Don't kick the cat.
So here are the movies we're talking about today, starting with the one that was released first, 1999's The Sixth Sense, followed by Unbreakable 2000, Signs 2002, The Village 2004, Lady in the Water 2006, The Happening 2008, The Last Airbender 2010, After Earth 2013. That's kind of crazy to me because we all saw that in theaters together.
Wow.
It was a long time ago now. The Visit 2015, Split 2016, Glass 2019.
Which was the first episode.
Which was the first episode of CLE, our very first movie review.
How crazy.
Well, I guess maybe not the first movie review we did on the channel, but the first CLE review that we did. Yeah.
Monumental. That was 3 years ago.
Yeah, man.
Woo!
Long time ago.
Oh my goodness.
So where are we kicking this to, Danny? You're the host man today.
Who's got the first last?
I feel like before we started, we should probably acknowledge the other 2 mishaps that happened, the misfirings that happened before The Sixth Sense, because David and myself happened to watch Praying with Anger, which was Shyamalan's first thing.
Yeah.
And then Wide Awake, as aforementioned.
If you're good, I would rather insert them where I think they belong on the ranking. Like just a quick footnote. Like, okay, after this point, this is where this movie goes. Because honestly, neither one of them are his worst movies, which is saying something.
Wow, that's weird. I put them at my worst.
Oh, okay, interesting. I wouldn't have put them there. So, well, maybe you should start us off then.
This is going to be, all right, so are we going with those 2 too?
Well, so you're saying Wide Awake and Praying with Anger were your bottom choices?
Yes, both.
Interesting. Yes. Okay, no, I didn't put them in my bottom. Well, we could talk about them a little bit here.
Damn, now I kind of wish I had watched them so we could really hash this out.
Woo, man.
Wide Awake is like a story about a young little boy going to Catholic school. Which is actually inspired by Shyamalan, who actually went to Catholic school as a child. Wow, Danny. And
I held back on my that's a great, but it was more tasteful than Danny's Mom Chicka Wow Wow.
Definitely. Oh wow. Anyway, Praying with Anger is definitely a religious movie.
It sounds like it.
It's literally about a boy trying to find God. And
no, you're thinking Wide Awake.
Oh, sorry, Wide Awake. Wide Awake is...
or maybe you're thinking of Signs.
What did I say originally?
Praying with Anger.
Oh, I said Praying with Anger. Yeah. I described it totally different.
I mean, they could be interchangeable, really.
Wide Awake is the one with the little boy. It co-stars Rosie O'Donnell and Dennis Leary and... what's her face from 10 Things I Hate About You?
Julia Stiles.
Yeah,
it's
Julia
like her
Stiles.
first role, one of her first roles.
Yeah. Okay, I just got to throw this out here. We're going to talk about this movie. It's really bad. It's really super cheesy in a weird way.
Oh, it's so hammy.
We were talking about last episode, like, what about a segment where it's like a a movie that seems like it was made by a different director.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this one straight up is like
Catchy name coming to you soon.
this is like a child's movie, and it's really funny because it's just like the movie Stuart Little. It's got the same vibe.
Got a mouse.
And Shyamalan wrote Stuart Little. He wrote the screenplay to that movie.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's
How
one.
strange.
It's a screenplay that he sold right after finishing Wide Awake, and they both have this almost like Beethoven, like the dog Beethoven movie, or even like a John Hughes movie, like maybe like Home Alone vibes.
It's
a little bit.
a sappier dollar store version of a John Hughes movie for sure. But like, there's also a characteristic that happens in this movie, which you probably saw too, which will go into his first debut. There's a part in the story that he borrows from this movie.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
There is. There's also a twist ending to Wide Awake.
There is a twist ending, and it sucks, but it's also like
Shyamalan twists are going to be like that. We will come to discuss soon.
I feel like I have to spoil this one too.
Yeah,
no one's going to cares about Wide Awake.
Are you really going to watch Wide Awake?
I still might not watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
The little boy at the end of the movie literally meets what seems like God.
Yeah.
In the physical embodiment of a little blonde boy.
Oh, so it's not Morgan Freeman?
No, like he's looking for God the whole movie, and then he meets God at the end. And
he finds him?
He finds God.
And
That's
then his
crazy.
friend was dead the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, yeah.
Wait, what? His friend was dead the whole time?
What's his kid name? Dave?
The Daredevil?
I think.
I don't think Dave was dead the whole time, man.
Ah, dude, I'm pretty sure that they alluded to that he was dead.
That kid has epilepsy. He was just in the hospital.
Anyway, I know.
You know what? I'm going to be honest. When I was watching this, there was a point where I checked out. So I'm not saying that I'm right.
How funny that during a movie called Wide Awake, you were passed out.
Yeah. It's really bad, but I don't know if that. I'm not sure, Danny. I'm
pretty sure.
I'm not watching it again.
I'm not going to
rewatch
rewatch it now. I'll watch a review about it or something.
Okay, and then real quick, Praying with Anger, his first movie, which he made when he was 22 years old, is a story about college-age M. Night Shyamalan traveling to India to reconnect with his roots, which also apparently is something that he really did in his life.
He did a quick little Eat, Pray, Love.
Yeah, because Shyamalan was born in India, but only lived there for the first 6 months of his life, and then grew up in Philadelphia, which is why all of his movies are in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. So actually, this movie kind of has some interesting themes about like tackling what it's like to be the outsider in two cultures. You know, like in the United States, he's seen as just like an Indian person. But when he goes back to India, he's like, you're just like some American. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that he's the star of the movie.
Yes.
The cameos sometimes
he's
are a little
not
long.
even great in his cameos.
And
yeah.
it just keeps happening. I just wish he would stop. Like, you're not going to be the star of your movie.
Yeah. And in this one, he is the star of the movie, and it's pretty rough. And also, like, you can watch this one on YouTube. Yeah. And it's just this really low quality VHS transfer. And it's so dark that there's some scenes where you have no idea what's going on.
It's almost unwatchable, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I feel like that really railed on.
I feel like that's just a problem that Shyamalan has. Like, making some of his shots way too dark.
The Village.
We'll get into it.
Okay. Anyway, we'll get back.
We're talking.
So, many of them.
Yeah. All right. So if we're in actual Shyamalan territory,
we're in the territory of the movies we're officially ranking.
I'll kick it off with my worst Shyamalan movie.
Number 11.
The Last Airbender.
Ooh.
I also have The Last Airbender.
Yes.
I do not have The Last Airbender.
You're telling me that
and weren't you so sure that we would all have the same bottom?
Before you got here, I was like, Frank, we're going to have the same last movie. Mine is Lady in the Water.
Ooh. Mine's my number 10's Lady in the Water.
My number 10 is also Lady in the Water.
I'll just be honest. Last Airbender is my number 9. It's not even.
Wow.
It's not even like the next one. It's 2 up.
I think I know the next one.
But
that's crazy to me because while we were watching The Last Airbender, you had several forceful guffaws at the level of acting.
Dude.
And this is why it's ranked higher, because I couldn't even guffaw in Lady in the Water. There was no guffaws. It was a quiet house.
Oh, man.
But let's talk about Last Airbender.
Yeah,
you guys have me outvoted here.
I saw this movie for the first time, like I'd say several years after it came out. What is this, 2011? I think Last Airbender?
It is currently
2010.
2010. Thank you. I watched this with my old band on tour, which was 2017, and they were just like, dude,
what a terrible.
yeah, they were just we were passing by it on Netflix, I think, and then we were bored. Obviously, you're just like on tour, you have like the rest of the night to do nothing.
Yeah,
And-
tour's so boring.
Yeah, wow.
At night.
Something that's famously boring.
So they were just like, hey, do you want to like have some drinks and watch The Last Airbender? And I was like, isn't that supposed to be real bad? And they're like, yeah, it's super bad. And I was like, all right, let's watch it. It was
No, it's not super bad. It's The Last Airbender.
Very, very different pot from Superbad.
Could we watch Superbad instead?
I would rather.
So bad, as a
definitely.
matter of fact, it's rocking a 4 out of 10 on IMDb and a 5%
That's way too high.
on.
Okay.
I feel like somebody at IMDb really likes Shyamalan because I feel like a lot of these rankings are way too high
Yeah.
on IMDb for him. But a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's more accurate.
To be fair, IMDb is not an assigned score, though. It's literally just anyone who's taken the time to review.
It's just
So-
an average.
So there's probably a bunch of people who are like, "Oh, I love this movie." You know what I mean? Which is weird because I feel like even Avatar fans hate this movie.
yeah.
If anything, they're the most outspoken in their
Totally.
hatred of it.
And I've never seen an episode of that show, which is honestly one of the reasons that it won out the last spot for me over Lady in the Water is because it's like I could not care less about the IP. You know what I mean? I have no investment.
It's not even an anime though, Frank. It's a good show.
It's a Western anime. It's
That's
like
cool.
a
There's
faux
plenty
anime.
of shows I have no interest that also aren't animes.
Well, you know, if nothing else, this movie like has me inspired to actually check out Avatar now.
Avatar's
I feel like
cool.
I should watch it. I've never seen it. It seems like I'd enjoy it. At
Still
the
the first
time,
season.
at the time, I was just like, I felt like a little bit too old to be watching it. We were what, like sophomores?
It
Maybe?
was just about the time we were like out of, watching Saturday morning cartoons and
yeah.
stuff.
The only cartoons I was watching in high school were like Adult Swim, like anything on Adult Swim. But
Bump, bump,
that's pretty much it.
bump, bump, bump.
And maybe
Bump.
a Courage the Cowardly Dog rerun if it came on.
I watched Pokemon well into high school. So.
You're still watching Pokemon, so it doesn't even matter. Really.
Rewatch it. No shame. No shame.
What was I going to... I actually have some notes on
Yeah,
Last
tell me
Airbender.
about your
I was
thoughts
going to
of
say
Last
the
Airbender.
only notes I have for Last Airbender are straight stats because while we were watching it, I was just like, oh man.
Better get some work out of the way.
Okay, here's some things about this movie. And honestly, this is like a pro Last Airbender. And also like, I'm considering the next two movies I have ranked and how they don't have this. Last Airbender actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, great production quality. Is
Great
good.
production quality. Some of the shots are really nice. There's a sense of epicness to the story. Again, I'm sure the cartoon has done it probably way better than this. This is someone who's talking with no context. I also thought Dev Patel had a pretty good performance. This movie is like littered with awful performances.
He's the fire
But that kid
vendor,
can act.
right?
He's Kylo Ren, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And he does a good job. I like
Yeah.
Dev Patel too.
Dev Patel's a good guy.
You know what? This is one's annoying. Ong, he's okay.
He's a bad actor.
He's like not a great actor, but when
He's
you
not the worst actor in the movie though.
yeah, he's not the worst actor in the movie, and he's not even like the worst child actor in a Shyamalan movie. So it's
That's true. That's saying a lot.
Yeah, it is saying a lot. And he looks moderately okay sometimes with some of the kung fu stuff. He looks better than some of the extras in this movie who look like they're like have no idea what's going on.
And you know what? Speaking of the kung fu, I did like how each nation and each element had their own like style that coincided to their element. I thought that was cool.
And yeah, see, I picked up on that too, but then I was also like, this is probably something that's more fleshed out and cooler in the animated series.
I bet it is.
Than it is here. I do have to point out though that the character's name in the movie is Ong, and the character's name in the show is Aang.
Aang.
And it's like, how do you mess this up, or how do you even make this choice?
This is a classic Dragon Ball evolution move.
I have
Yeah.
no idea what you mean.
I'm gonna make you watch Dragon Ball Evolution someday.
Try,
Let me
man.
see here. Oh, and you know what? Some of the fighting choreography was pretty cool. Like some of the fight scenes were pretty interesting, which I was like, this is all right. But then you get there's some of them like Sokka is intolerable. The other two kids who follow around Aang or Ong or whatever, I can't stand him. And then you get to a point in the movie where you're like, what is happening? You know what I mean? And I was
I forgot where we started.
I was just looking at the plot, like on Netflix. I was scrolling through the plots of the show, and it seems like it's the entire first season squeezed into a movie. So there's no room for development. It just feels like we're just moving from place to place. They don't know where we're going. I don't know where they're going. And then at the end, I'm like, what does any of this even mean?
There's no development.
Yeah.
There's no Uncle Hero.
Just take out all the stuff that makes a story fun.
And this was supposed to be the first of 3 movies, the first in a trilogy, and it got canned.
I mean, I can't imagine why.
I watched an interview with Shyamalan today when this movie came out, and he was just like, I don't know what it is. Movie critics just don't get my movie. Like talking about this movie in particular.
Oh my goodness.
And he was like, maybe one day some of these movies will be appreciated, and I'll come back and we'll celebrate a hit together. And I was like, yikes, dude. I don't see it happening, man. I don't see it happening.
This is like, yeah. I mean, that's kind of a common theme with M. Night. If he doesn't get the feedback he wants, he like roasts the critics and stuff, And he writes them into a movie sometimes and kills them. Lady in the Water.
Oh yeah, right. He literally kills the critic in that movie.
Yeah. So is that our consensus? It's a piece of crap.
Garbage.
Yeah.
Please don't watch.
If you have not watched The Last Airbender, we do not recommend it.
Yeah, definitely not. The last thing I got to say, this is a random story, but my high school kids, sometimes they'll give me recommendations like, hey, you should watch this or you should watch this. For years, these kids have been telling me that I need to watch Avatar. And I've been like,
the show?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Maybe I'll get to it one day. After I watched this movie, I told like my upper level class, I was like, hey guys, so this weekend I actually watched The Last Airbender. And most of their responses were, why? Like that was the response. Why did you spend your time watching that? You could have been watching the cartoon. And I was like, well, you're probably right. I bet watching 4 episodes of the cartoon would be way more enjoyable.
Kids say the darndest things, man.
There's hope for this generation yet.
Yeah, right? Okay. So who are we going to for 10, Danny?
That would be Your Way.
Oh, okay.
Clockwise.
All right, so my number 10 is, well, it's going to be what my number 11 was. Lady in the Water.
Hey.
That's what I have next. What do you guys think?
That's what I have that's what we have for our natural 10.
That is my 10.
Oh, rolling a natural 10.
Frank and
kind
I
of a
are
mid-roll.
natural 10s.
Okay, so Lady in the Water is a movie.
Is it?
It's
God. Lady in the Water is a chore.
yeah.
That's
It's
what
a
Lady in the
series of
Water
shots put together with ideas.
So it's basically like this man. There's this eclectic, almost like Wes Anderson-ish apartment complex, and Paul Giamatti, poor Paul Giamatti.
Hey, he's still great in the movie.
I mean, but dude, how'd you get yourself wrapped up in this?
Maybe he owed somebody a favor.
He plays the landlord, right?
well, to
Yeah,
be fair,
he's-
this is like the first Shyamalan movie that was a huge dunk.
Is this the first dunk? Let me see.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely dunk for sure.
Because if I was
That's
like,
not how I feel. I was already like for me hating The Village for this movie when I saw it, I was like already like pensive, like Shyamalan.
Yeah.
You did me dirty on the last one. I'm gonna go see your new movie, and it better be good. Like I know you can make good movies. And then I was just scared to watch Shyamalan movies after that. Like
this
oh,
one
man.
put me off for a while.
well, The Village, at least though, there was a debate about it.
Yeah.
Like there was a critical debate, and maybe even amongst audiences, people were divided over it. But the Lady in the Water is the first one that's universally hated. I don't know anyone who's defending this movie.
There's quite a few reviews I was seeing online that people were like justifying this movie.
It's
And
got a 5.5 out of 10 on
I was just
IMDb.
like, what in the
that's-
hell?
That's too much.
Should be lower.
It's got a 25% on Rotten Tomatoes, which closer, but still a little high.
Way too high.
So, plot wise though, it's Paul Giamatti. He's like a landlord, and there's a lady in the water, and it's Bryce Dallas Howard. She like lives in the swimming pool. It's basically like a modern day fairy tale.
Mm-hmm.
And what we find out throughout the movie is that every character in this apartment complex almost plays some sort of role to this fantasy movie that's like set in a grungy apartment complex. That's more or
But
less
it's
it.
also an allegory for Shyamalan's own writer's block, who actually made a real character in this story called Story. And he plays the writer who
Yeah.
needs the inspiration.
Not just the writer, but the voice of a generation
Yes.
who will bring lasting change for peace amongst the universe.
That's quite a role to write for yourself as a writer. You know what I mean?
And this is the movie I was talking about before, where he also wrote a movie critic who plays the bad guy, one of the bad guys. He's not even a bad guy. He's just like, a set piece.
Yeah.
And they murder him by the scrunt. The
Yes.
scrunt wolf. or
These
whatever.
like dogs / boars / grass.
Grass.
Grass type boars. It's like when Pokemon's really, running out of ideas.
Which I really feel like a gun would have solved that problem. Like just like a good
Fire?
shotgun.
Maybe?
Just
Dog.
bam.
You can't shoot grass, man.
Yeah.
You can shoot grass.
No, you can't.
Especially
use
grass
fire.
that doesn't move.
Have you ever tried shooting grass before, Frank? You ever shot at the grass before?
Bullets. I've seen bullets land in dirt. I imagine it's
You
pretty
had to really
similar.
think about that for a second.
I was like, have I?
Also, the great eagle from Lord of the Rings is in this movie. So
Oh yeah,
there's that too.
yeah. And if anything, probably used a little bit better in this movie than in Lord of the Rings. Or they really could have solved a lot.
He
of
was
problems.
actually a plot element in this.
Yeah. He wasn't just like a Deus Ex Machina
Yeah,
right at the end of Lord of the Rings. Wow, the performances are terrible. And here's a big complaint. This
Which
is
one? You get your big complaint.
this is my biggest complaint. This is what I think about this movie definitely doesn't work. Most Shyamalan movies, opposed from like Last Airbender, which is a story he didn't really write, are very much set in reality, except for one supernatural element. There's that one thing that takes us out of the real world that we relate to. Where in Lady in the Water, it's too far removed. It's like, what is happening now? You could have had just the woman living in the swimming pool, but then you add in the grass pigs and you add in like the destined writer and all this extra stuff on top of it. And then it's just like, no, this isn't working, man.
The kid reading cereal boxes.
Yeah.
And
It's too
that's
much.
like a big thing I learned from this experience of watching all of these movies is that when Shyamalan gets a little bit too fantasy, a little bit too fanciful, that's when he really like starts having a tough time, man.
Someone's
That's
really
when he
gotta rein him
puts
in,
out some
you know?
garbage. Yeah.
Yeah, he could use a good co-writer. You know what I mean? He would work really well with someone extra.
Where it was, maybe he can call George Lucas's wife. She could help him out.
Oh, God. Well, do you have any more stats for us, Frank?
So budget wise for I skipped it for Last Airbender, but honestly, I was like done talking about this movie.
Yeah, we don't care about that.
And hopefully, we'll be done talking about this one soon. It's got a budget of $70 million, an opening weekend of $18,044,396. Worldwide grossed $72,785,169.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
They barely like that. You can't even call that making money.
This is like a movie that the word of mouth killed it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Like, I'm pretty sure I was part of that opening weekend. Because
Yeah.
there's no way I would have heard anything bad and gone to see that movie.
Yeah.
This is a big one for me that's way too dark. Like, that problem is all over the place on this movie. I had to, like, make sure shutters were closed, the lights were off to try to, like, figure
What's
out
going
what was
on in the
going on here.
grass? Why are the shots from underwater looking out?
You really want to, like, you have to kind of recreate a theater experience for some of these movies.
Yeah.
You need to be in like a pitch black room because it's hard to follow some of these.
Or just
man.
like set up some kind of thing where you're right in front of the TV and you just put a blanket. That's
Yeah.
probably the best way to watch one of these movies. Shut out all the light.
Oh, God. That sounds like a torture device.
For some of them, it would be, yeah.
Okay.
Some pretty effective torture. I don't have any other big points to talk about this movie that we
Same.
haven't hit already.
Yeah.
It's just terrible. What a
Yeah, it
terrible
sucks.
time watching this movie. I was telling David before we
You
started.
own this movie, right?
Well, I bought it for this episode. Let's be fair here. Because I can buy them at Savers for $2, and that's $2 cheaper than
Then
buying them
renting
on,
it
Amazon Prime.
Amazon. There you go.
And you got him.
That's how you do it, David.
I will be destroying them after this episode.
Nice. That sounds cathartic.
Yeah.
Just like break them up with your bare
I was
hands.
thinking about doing it during this podcast, but now I've spoiled it.
I'm so glad that you opened this one. For
That's the one you got to show off, man. After Earth, that's the one you got to show off on the shelf, dog.
Oh, God, we'll get there.
Oh, we're getting there.
Are we ready to move on? I'm done thinking about this movie. I hope I never have to watch it again for
Yeah,
any reason.
I just got to say, this is why this movie was last for me compared to Last Airbender, because I can almost say nothing good about Lady in the Water.
Wow.
But Last Airbender is a middling, child's
Because he didn't write it.
fantasy thing. Yeah, that's what saves Last
Yeah,
Airbender.
yeah.
The few elements that he didn't come up with.
Exactly.
But anyway, let's go on to the next one. What do you guys got next? It's Frank.
That's Franco.
For my number 9 slot, I have After Earth. Good job, guys.
We
Good
need a
job.
celebration.
Ranked.
Gun.
Wow. Yeah, man. The Last Airbender, I just wrote Last Airbender again. Man,
We're kind of in the same. They're kind of the same movie.
After Earth is nepotism gone wild. It's
man.
Will Smith trying to make it's Will Smith trying to make a role for Jaden Smith, and it's a movie that was like it should almost be criminal how it was advertised versus what you receive in the
False
theater.
advertising.
Yeah, it's Jaden Smith wandering through the woods for 45 minutes.
Talking like this,
Yeah,
yes,
with
Inconsistently at that.
oh, that future speak, man.
it's so bad.
I'd rather listen to oh my god, Tom Hanks talk about the true than like this
totally.
dumb future speak.
But wait, did anyone else notice that like only Jaden Smith and Will Smith were the ones that used the future speak?
You know, there was one other actor who attempted it, and then the very next scene, it was gone.
Like the commander guy or something?
Yeah, it's the most inconsistent thing in the movie.
And but like his daughter that died and his wife and all that, they speak normal English.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty rough, dude. They should have just dropped the accent.
Why is that a thing?
Because, you know, one of them said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had a different accent? Because in the future, why would people talk the same way? It's like, dude, Obi-Wan speaks with a British accent. Let's calm down. Let's just make a stupid
And
movie.
Cloud Atlas already did that, and that was 4 years prior.
Oh, was it really? Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's even worse.
You know what? Serenity, or the series is Serenity, right? Or the series is Firefly. Yeah, Serenity did it the best, where everybody just has their regional accents, but like language has changed. You know what I mean?
Like there's like a Chinese English amalgamation.
Yeah, all the curses are in Chinese.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
That's awesome.
That's how it would be too when China finishes dominating the world.
Soon.
Well, I mean that's pretty much the movie. I guess the thing is that they're
It's
trapped on the
too
planet.
Sci-fi, too fantasy. He did it again.
It's not even that it's
Well,
too
hang on, I'm trying to
sci-fi.
get the plot out here, guys.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to
sorry.
complain.
That's the order of this segment.
There's so many bad things to say about it, but please.
shut up. So it's they're trapped on a planet. Will Smith has his leg broken, and
What planet is it?
it's Earth. Dun, dun, dun.
Nah, no air horns for this one.
And the big thing of the movie is there's these invisible aliens who they're invisible, but only sometimes, and they don't see. They can only smell your fear. So only people who can conquer fear can kill the aliens, and once they do, it's super easy.
Is the monster invisible?
Sometimes
They
it is.
are sometimes.
It has like a cloaking device that uncloaks.
Damn,
The-
like Predator?
The Ursa, as they are referred to. What is it? They were dropped on a.
They're bears.
They are, which means bear.
They're
right?
Latin bears, so
Latin
they use their hips a lot.
It's because their hips don't lie, and when you lie, you admit fear. You admit some fear, and that's why.
Way to get that back on.
That's why we're back on it. Except sometimes they can sense fear, and sometimes they can't. Also, this is the movie where Will Smith is completely emotionless, and somehow sold that.
I gotta say, this is a director trope that I found in these movies, is that M. Night Shyamalan likes a good stoic and emotionless character.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he acts all his characters.
Yeah, exactly.
And Bruce Willis.
Some of them pull it off better than others. Like Will Smith doesn't sell it.
No.
Mark Wahlberg doesn't sell it. Joaquin Phoenix, he's great in that
Sells
kind of
it.
role.
Bruce Willis sells
Yeah.
it. Samuel L. Jackson sells it.
Yeah, you need the right kind of guy to do that role. But Anya Taylor-Joy totally sells it. Sorry.
She's really good at like staring widely.
It's because her eyes are
Yeah.
wide apart.
Numbers wise, After Earth pulled in a 4.8 out of 10 on IMDb, way too high, and 11% on Rotten Tomatoes, still a little bit too high. 100-minute runtime, made on a budget of $130 million. Opening weekend pulled in
Jesus.
$27,520,040. That was like our chunk.
$40,
That like
yeah.
$40. We did that.
Back when movies were a nickel.
A nickel. Made a worldwide gross of $243,611,982. Somebody people went to go watch this movie, man. We did.
We did.
Yep.
They got
We
us.
did.
I guess people went twice. Yuck. Because that was terrible. This is original story idea from Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And he tried so hard to make his son like a star. And his son is such a disappointment.
Well, he's done it for both kids too, right? The same thing with whipping the hair
daughter?
back and forth. Yeah.
Who was his daughter?
Willow Smith.
She
I whip
put
my
out
hair
a
back
pop
and
song.
forth. I whip my hair back and forth.
Didn't even realize that. Sorry.
Yeah.
Poor Will Smith.
In your defense, music videos are much shorter than movies. So
I got in a big argument with Randy about this actually when he was last in town. I was like, first off, talent isn't just passed on genetically. Maybe some, natural gift, I guess. I don't know how that works. But Will Smith isn't even a fantastic actor.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, how many brilliant Will Smith roles are there? Maybe a handful.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah, the very dramatic roles he's played.
And Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, but most of them have been like Men in Black is a fun movie, and he's really good, but it's not like
He's the comic relief.
mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know why we'd expect Jaden to be this like thespian.
Are you telling me that Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2 is not the groundbreaking film that it should be?
So I'm assuming you guys haven't seen Bad Boys for Life, right?
No, I haven't.
I watched it recently.
Was it
Probably
cool?
exactly what you'd expect.
All right.
If you have a good time watching the first two, it's a pretty good time.
Most tolerable Michael Bay movies.
Yikes. I forgot that was
Except I haven't seen The Rock. Frank's been telling me for
The Rock
years that
is
it's good.
probably the best Michael Bay movie.
Yeah, The Rock is solid.
He's also a pretty sweet dude.
My last note I want to make on After Earth, personally, and it's a big one for me. It was very distracting. Not the whole time because he wasn't in it a bunch, but Will Smith's goatee was way too sharp.
Oh.
It was way too sharp and way too
It's a
perfectly
little,
triangle.
wasn't it the right under the lip?
Yeah,
Under
but
the
it was
bottom
like
lip
a
here?
perfect equilateral triangle. It was super
Well,
distracting.
that's future
for me.
fashion, man.
Yeah, it's
You
future
know?
fashion, dog.
Don't you know?
This is how the kids wear their clothes.
There's a few things in this movie I do enjoy. I actually like some of the beginning, like literally when they're in the ship before they crash land on Earth. There's some good stuff. We got a old Game of Thrones. I don't remember his name anymore.
Oh, Tormund.
Tormund.
Yeah,
there we
Tormund
go.
was in it. I forgot about that.
Yeah, last seen on The Thing, 2011. But I like his little performance in there.
You definitely get
And
like
some
a
surprise Roy in the same scene.
Yeah, Roy's in the background.
You definitely get some Shinji vibes too between Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. You know what I mean? Some.
Jada Pinkett Smith.
I'm sorry. What is his name?
Jaden Smith.
Jaden Smith. I'm sorry. I saw that it was produced by Jada Pinkett Smith right here. So I'm like, yeah, you definitely get some Gendo and Shinji vibes for sure. The entire time he's just telling him, well, I really wish I could not hear him like yell that stupid name over and over again. Katai! Katai!
I think the movie could have worked if they didn't cast Will Smith's son.
Yeah.
And if maybe they made it a little more interesting on the way. Oh, but one other thing I really like about it, I like some of the visual aesthetics, some of the future tech.
Yeah, the suit's cool.
Yeah, the suit's cool. I like the little AirPod things that they take.
I thought some of the tech looked a little dumb.
Some of it does look a little dumb, but to me it feels like more real than watching Phantom Menace or something.
Those
I was
AirPods.
like, don't say Starship Troopers, David.
When I saw those AirPods, they really reminded me of like those Royal Dance cookies with like the little cheese Danishes. You know what I mean? It really looks like a cheese Danish.
That does sound good right now too.
I could go for a day.
That's probably the best part of After Earth.
Okay, well, anything else about After Earth? Fair enough. You know what? Just quick, because I think Danny's got the next one. I just want to interject. This is where I would rank Wide Awake. Would be next.
Oh wow!
This. I would say Wide Awake is more watchable.
These movies are really bad.
Yeah, dude. These bottom three movies I consider flat out unwatchable. I will never watch them again after this episode. I do
have to say, after having seen After Earth with you fools in theaters, I never wanted to watch it again. Somehow we roped me into watching it again.
Mm-hmm. Well, this was a big negative side when we were discussing the schedule. Like, do we really want to do this Shyamalan ranking?
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons.
I think you made this point too, but when I was watching it, when I finally made it through After Earth, this was after 3 tryings of watching, 3 attempts of watching this movie. I put it on right before sleep as, because that's how much effort I wanted to
just
put into it.
because unintentionally, you start watching it and you want to go to sleep.
And I went to sleep. So I fell asleep 3 times watching this movie and I made it through it, but I enjoyed it more than I did in theaters. Maybe it's because I knew that it was trash going into it,
Yeah, I didn't find myself hating it as much as I hate Lady in the Water. Or,
that was a
Last
hard
Airbender.
that was a really hard rewatch.
Slightly more watchable. All right, Danny. Well, you're next, I think, right?
Yes, and for those listening, I think at this point, all of our choices are going to be up in the air because I feel like
interesting.
Yeah, I feel like I like different Shyamalan movies. Than
we just get the same list, all 3 of us, for the rest of this.
That'd be cool.
I feel like the next one has to be the same. Okay, let's see.
I also feel pretty confident we might be on the same page.
My number 8 is 2015's The Visit.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You weren't joking.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Well, let's get that right on out of here because that's not happening.
That's also way too low for me.
Happening. Number 8's The Happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
See, I thought for sure this is where this movie
My number
belongs.
7 is The Happening.
All right.
So I will
So
concede.
close.
But also, it was my number 8 this morning. When I was putting the list together, I thought about it. And which one are we going to talk about right now? We're going to talk about
We're
The
going to talk about that.
All right. I'll save my point for moving it until we get to
All right, hold on to it for a while.
Interesting. Okay, so The Happening is wow, what a dumb movie. It's like Mark Wahlberg and Zooey Deschanel is a married couple who are having some sort of
She's cheating on him.
Yeah, she's having an entanglement, and there's an event that they think is a terrorist attack. You know, some of these I feel like I don't want to spoil. Like, I feel like The Sixth Sense, do we need to spoil it? The people who know, but maybe there's some
Been around
younger...
for like 20 years.
Yeah, but there's some people who are like 15 or 16. You know what I mean?
I mean,
who
Some
might be
people
watching,
are 15 or 16.
Who
That
might
is
be?
true.
They might have seen like Split,
Yeah.
and they might have seen Glass, and they're like, let's check out these older movies. And
I mean-
you don't know the twist to those. Why
All right, so
spoil
let's
it?
not give away the entire bowl of pudding. Let's just talk about how dumb it is in general.
But
Sure.
can we talk about the stupid twist in this movie? Because who cares about that?
I feel like we should just
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about the twists in most of these movies. Maybe we'll skip The Sixth Sense because it's like great, but the twist is not big in this movie.
the twist is it's the plants doing it.
It's the trees that killing people.
Well, I was telling David the other day what I actually think the twist is the very last scene of the movie, because
that's
the whole time
Uh-huh.
throughout the movie they're like, it's regional, it's not even the whole United States,
Yeah.
it's just this part, we just gotta head like east or whatever, you know what I mean?
but
at the end you're like, oh, qu'est-ce que c'est? He's in France now?
With those two Frenchmen just
Yeah.
walking.
yeah, that's a good point.
Bicycle in French.
Yeah, and it's also where like people are gathering and stuff. It's like typically where the happening happens.
The gatherings where the happening happens.
Exactly. Yeah, my biggest gripe with this also. Well, you know what? You didn't finish the plot.
That's more or less the plot.
Yeah.
I'm going to end it there. You know, like people die, and that's it.
That's it. And they're on the road.
And what are the numbers?
You know, my big problem with it is that I do think it would be a better movie if Marky Mark and Zooey Deschanel weren't the leading people.
Or if,
Well,
they,
like,
if they
the-
had a shred of chemistry together.
Yeah. And the thing is, David and I were talking about, like, Mark Wahlberg can act.
Yeah.
We've seen him do
Dude,
it.
I've seen him in Rockstar. That man rules that role.
Fair point.
Yeah.
He's a good actor. And even in The Departed, he's great in Departed.
There's great Fear, man. There's,
Yeah, Fear. I
there's
mean-
movies we've talked about on this channel that Mark Wahlberg is killing it in.
But-
Huh, I've never seen Fear. We should watch it sometime.
yeah. What's even crazy to think about is that his brother Donnie has a better M. Night Shyamalan performance
Ooh.
than he does. So
I mean, it feels like it feels like he's trying to act in this movie. You know what I mean?
well, I just
what?
what? No.
we're not. No, we're not doing that.
Well, he's never really done, like, the brainy guy either. You know,
Yeah.
It's a little bit out of his wheelhouse.
Yes, he's the smart, relatable. He's just short of like.
Walter White.
He's not as offensive as like Stand and Deliver. You know what I mean? He's not saying he's going to break someone's neck like a toothpick, but he is essentially doing that in this movie early on.
You guys
in the
know
scene.
if we lose the bees, everything's gone. We won't be here tomorrow. So dumb.
Wow.
Give us those stats.
Yeah.
So another way too high score.
Where?
Excuse me.
See,
What?
I'm creating my own abbreviations unintentionally.
Okay.
What is happening. Way too high of a score on IMDb with a 5 out of 10, a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I agree.
I mean, made on a budget of $48 million. They got $30,507,109 on opening weekend.
Wow, it's a big opening weekend.
Yeah, and they actually made a good chunk of money on this one. Worldwide gross $163,403,799.
Some people like this movie.
Yeah. Well, I was telling David, that I enjoy certain things in this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna
like
say.
some of the ridiculous stuff. I do really like one scene in particular that like kicks up the notch. It raises the stakes a little bit. Don't want to like give it
Tell
away
me.
because it's the only like thing worth watching it for. Almost. And actor Frank Collison as the nursery owner who keeps going on
Yeah.
about the hot dogs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll
Love
spoil
him.
this one because he just like he's telling these people, yeah, we'll get out of town as fast as possible. We just got to go to our house and pick up these supplies. And at the very end of like that little chunk of the scene, it's just hot dogs. They just went to go pick up hot dogs. She just has a cooler full of hot dogs.
And then doesn't he? Yeah. And then Isn't he the guy that like full pedals on the Jeep and goes into that tree and they fly out?
No,
of the
that was
front?
the guy who was driving John Leguizamo. This is the guy with the long face.
That's right. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like The Mist when they get in the car and they're like leaving. That's essentially what happens in this movie.
Yeah, except the whole world's the car.
I really like how flat and unspecial the gore is filmed in this movie.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of jump scares. Everything is like, you know exactly what's about to happen, and they just like show you it happening. Wink. And it's good. I like those parts of the movie. I think it's really effective.
The massive death sequences are the best part of the movie.
Yeah. The problem is after all that happens at the beginning, and then you have to stick around with Mark Wahlberg for 45 minutes. And Zooey Deschanel, who has like a couple good performances, you know what I mean? But not in this movie.
Oh
like,
my God.
Who knows what they were thinking with this one.
Man, that like last scene of them talking to each other through that tube is just like, oh my God. Are we done yet? Like, this is the last part, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're done after this?
Can we talk about how unintentionally comical the shotgun scene is? Is this what you're talking about?
That is what I'm talking about.
Dude,
Yes.
that is the best
Okay.
scene. Come on, man, we're gonna kick your ass. These kids who have never talked the entire movie.
There's just these like riled up youths who are traveling with them, and there's a desperate situation.
They were hungry. They needed a Snickers. That's why they got so ornery.
But it wasn't even like they weren't even out for longer than like a couple of hours.
But they were both a little heavy.
And it was the little girl too.
They were pretty stocky.
Yeah, they wanted food for the little girl.
They wanted food for the little girl, and she needed some rest. This is like after
She needed a 10-minute rest and a snack.
Yeah, that's what they said. Okay. This is after basically like the movie just gets on a smaller and smaller scale as you go. They're escaping the city. They're escaping John Leguizamo, and then they finally get out to the countryside, and it's like 5 people.
And they're escaping old lady in her house.
Yes. Well, that's before this, I think.
Oh man.
Or no, that's after
after,
this.
yeah.
After this is what I'm going to say. But yeah, there's this scene where a couple characters meet the end of a shotgun, and it's laughable how stupid it is. Like, and also it just feels like, wow, this really got turned up. Like these guys did not need to do this. They could have dialed back a little bit.
And also, I just realized this right now, but I'm pretty sure the first kid gets shot with a shotgun, and the second one's just another different person with a rifle.
No.
I think it's a shotgun.
I think it's a shotgun too. I think he's like kneeling down to like help him, or no, he's like listening inside, right? And then it goes out by his head.
He's got like his head turned, looking at his friend who's just been shot, and then the shotgun comes like, sliding through the slats. Because this guy doesn't have windows, he just has wooden blinds on his front of his house. I don't know what's going on.
Keep out the trees.
You're gonna get the gas. You're gonna let the gas in because my super airtight house missing planks and these shutters.
You know, he sets it up with something that's a bit too obvious at the beginning of the movie, where it's like, where did the bees go?
Yep.
How did this happen? Sometimes things just happen. Sometimes science just happens. We can't explain it. And it's like, wow, this definitely isn't going to be exactly what happens in this movie. And it does happen.
He does that same thing in Lady in the Water.
Yeah, he does too.
It's the entire explanation of the movie right before it starts.
And it's like, this isn't clever. Unless, I don't know, like if you think your audience is stupid, basically.
It's probably the Resident Evil people that also love this movie.
There's a few instances in these movies where I wish Shyamalan thought higher of his audience, where it just seems like he thinks we're too stupid to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, he's very heavy-handed about explaining stuff out to you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Hard zoom in.
Where's the
on
scientist character?
object.
I'm going to have the scientist character explain everything. And you can always tell. And this happened in Wide Awake too, where you can clearly tell when Shyamalan like got something straight from the page and put it into a character's dialogue. Like, tell me how he wrote, and you're just like, they wouldn't say that.
Yes. There's a lot of clunky dialogue in Shyamalan movies, but part of it is also like his style. You know what I mean? You got to kind of be ready for that. In the same way that like you wouldn't, like a David Lynch movie is also kind of dry and kind of clunky sometimes, but it's just his style. It's just what he does. But anyway, back to what was I saying here about the old Hampton? I just think it could have been cool. It could have been a cool story about like, you know what, we've been punishing the environment and now the environment's going to punish us. But there wasn't even a huge setup of like, the movie needed to start off with like toxic sludge getting pumped into the ocean and like
Hidra
and burning forests down. Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. We're in a different monsterverse here.
Yes, man. See, that's what we need for the next monsterverse movie.
That's what could have saved the crappening is Godzilla.
Ooh, why didn't they put the grass pigs in this one?
Oh, see, Scrunts.
Scrunts. They could have scrunting around.
Is it Scrunt or Scruffs?
Oh,
it's Scrunts, I'm pretty sure.
Whatever sounds dumber, they pick that one.
Yeah. Well, you know what? On a rewatch, I also hated this movie for a long time. And on a rewatch, I was like, I could stand it a little bit more because obviously I know what I'm getting into. Maybe that's the like saving grace of Shyamalan movies that are bad is like, give it time.
It's like dealing with the loss of a loved one. Like, it just gets easier.
Give it
over
time, and you could like look at their picture after like 10 years or something.
You know, I gotta say this one is also like I wouldn't recommend this movie to anybody, but this is
that would ruin your credibility.
Yeah, this is in a slightly different territory than the bottom three we went over though, where it's The Happening. At least I was laughing and having a good time.
Yeah,
it didn't feel like punishment.
Yeah.
I guess agree. That's my only recommendation.
There was enough material that was memorable in it to make fun of afterwards.
Yes,
for sure.
And if you want to be baffled by a movie, and I don't know, like drink a couple beers or something, this isn't the worst pick.
If you ever want to have a what's happening moment, just watch The Happening.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so are we done with this?
I think we are.
Thank God. Yeah. Okay, let's move on.
What'd you got for your number 7 there, David?
My number 7, and quick plug, this is where I would have put Praying with Anger, actually. I would rank it above The Happening, even considering M. Night Shyamalan's awful, blocky performance the whole time. Still some more interesting themes in that movie. Anyway, my number 7...
Don't say it.
Don't
say it, I swear to God.
2019.
No.
Oh,
okay.
Whoa. Glass is my number 7.
My number 6 is Glass.
My number 6 is also Glass.
Yes.
What are we doing for 7?
Well, should we concede
What
Glass?
are your guys' 7s?
I have The Village for my number 7.
Oh.
Ooh.
I can't do that. Mine's way further up there.
Mine is...
I was straight up pissed when I left the theater after watching that movie.
Frank hates The Village, and Danny and I are both like Village stans.
I'm down for The Village.
Yeah, me too.
Mine was The Visit, which was 8, which we were moving up.
My Visit is 6.
Oh,
interesting. I still have Visit way higher than this.
Ooh.
So are you telling me that we're all picking Glass? No, I'm just joking. Where's... I mean...
I would rather watch The Visit again than Glass, for sure.
It's just... Well, I don't want to give it... This is just my argument for why Glass should be 7. The other movies at least have something going for it, whereas Glass, I feel like, is the most... mid movie I've seen from Shyamalan.
Okay, that's fair.
It's like nothing really happens. Nothing's terribly exciting. It's not bad.
Yeah. It's a shoehorn of a movie.
If anything, it kind of devalues the first 2 movies in the trilogy.
Exactly. It feels like he oh wow, people actually want to see this? Oh man, I gotta get to writing.
Yeah.
So I'm cool moving Glass to 7. Just because I know you guys have The Village higher. It'll give us some wiggle room to talk up here.
Are you okay with Glass being 7?
Yeah.
I'm excited. This is the first time this has ever happened, where only one person had that movie as the ranking and somehow finagled it into it. So thank you guys for this honor. Really, this honor.
If I had realized it was the first time, I definitely wouldn't have conceded it to you. So don't worry about it.
That's why I said it afterwards, so that you look incredibly petty if you backpedaled. Okay, so Glass, the plot, it is the sequel.
It is the...
It's not a coming together. It's an origin story.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's the pinnacle of like what you've been waiting for.
So, I mean, one of the twists in Split, and I guess this is a movie that probably even people who weren't around in the 90s have seen. The twist in Split has anything to do with that movie. It's just like, oh, this is actually in the same universe as Unbreakable. That's the twist.
Which was like, cool for me.
Yeah, which was a cool moment at the end of that movie. So then it's like, then we were all waiting. Okay, when is it going to be the Overseer, David Dunn, going up against... the beast from Split. So in this movie we have all those characters. We have James McAvoy's awesome characters of the beast.
Yeah.
We have what's his face, Bruce
Samuel
Willis,
Jackson, yep.
and Samuel Jackson from Unbreakable. We even get
Pulp Fiction.
Yes, and Pulp Fiction. We even get Bruce Willis's son, the child actor who played his son in Unbreakable, is back in this movie.
Who still looks a little bit weird.
Yeah.
He looks a little bit goofy, but you know what? Probably one of the best performances in that particular circumstance.
Yeah.
Where you take a child actor and then you bring him back 10 years later. Yeah.
They should have done that kid growing up movie with that kid instead.
Yeah.
Boyhood.
Boyhood.
And then you got Anya Taylor-Joy reprising her role, and also the lady who played Samuel Jackson's
Sarah Paulson.
Mom is there. And
No,
then
that's a different lady. Yeah.
Sarah Paulson's our new character. She's this therapist.
What is her name? Dr. Staple.
Dr. Staple. And so they're all locked in a mental institution together, and shenanigans ensue. And that's the plot. That's the plot to Glass.
And
What can I say?
very lackluster.
Yeah. Another high one on IMDb, 6.7 out of 10. 36% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, that's more like it.
Made on a budget of $20 million. Pretty low budget. Opening weekend of $40,328,920 with a worldwide gross of $246,000,999,039.
Dynamite.
$999,039.
Yeah, I don't think you could be mad leaving the theater after this. You're just like, okay,
Sure. Yeah.
sure, man.
And this is the most recent.
yeah,
This was the most recent Shyamalan. Okay.
we have his Apple TV series that came out right after
I
this.
watched it.
Oh, really?
I did.
Okay, we'll get into that maybe after the movies. I'm curious.
Okay.
And then we have Old, which is coming out this year. But Glass was many years in the making. To me, the beginning of the movie is a much stronger plot, like the setup.
But
to
the
what's
first
happening.
half of the movie is also way too dark.
Yes, another movie that's way too dark. It's in the second half of the movie, particularly the final act, where it feels like, what are we doing? Like, what's the plot here? And we set up this big, giant set piece that they keep teasing, and it never happens. Now, it might just be an intentional thing, but it's also like, this is why the budget's $20 million.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. They
Yeah.
filmed it in like, what, 4 locations maybe?
Yeah, it's like one building and then like an industrial complex.
Almost as few locations as the movie he produced, Devil.
Oh, man. I wish we could have put that on here.
I know that was told we should do that movie sometime. 'cause
That
it's
movie's
really
great. Yeah.
Okay. See, I haven't seen that movie, so I'd be down to check it
Oh,
out.
it's fun. Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you guys think about Old Glass here? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. You can't be mad. There is like some good stuff. It ties up everything. The ending sucks. It kind of really lets you down in the end.
Yeah.
In our CLE, we refer to it as a double twist, but it's actually a triple twist. Like when I watched it the second time around, which makes it even dumber.
Yeah,
And I totally can we spoil the end?
I
Should
think
we?
so. 'Cause
Yeah,
this
I
one
mean-
is like the newest one. You know what I mean?
If you haven't seen it,
Why are you listening?
yeah, why are you listening? Stupid. I totally forgot all 3 of them die in the end.
Oh yeah.
Totally didn't remember that
If
at all.
anything, it's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, great. These characters who were
Now
so
what?
interesting
Yeah.
are now all gone.
And you made like a blockbuster amount on this movie and you can't like do anything now.
Yeah.
It's pretty lame.
we basically get this thing where they introduce a mystery villain right at the end of the movie.
Yep.
It's almost like going through a whole Star Wars trilogy and then introducing a new villain at the end of the trilogy.
Like, cool.
Or it's almost like a Star Wars trilogy where they introduce a new villain every single movie of the trilogy.
Or it's like a Star Wars trilogy where they bring back an old one who clearly died just for the fans.
Who knows which one you're talking about in that case? That could be a lot of Star Wars characters. But anyway, they introduce this evil corporation who's trying to get rid of super people.
Who's been around for 10,000 years.
Yes. Okay.
Gotcha.
It's literally teased. They start teasing it like 20 seconds before it's revealed. You have no idea what's coming.
It's totally out of left field.
Yeah. And just so incredibly uninteresting.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Uninteresting, unsatisfying,
Yeah.
unimaginative.
And then we get the end, which is like super cheesy of them all like sitting in the train station. Like, oh, it's spreading. Oh, the truth is spreading. We've done it.
It just made me think, I wonder how often I'm looking at the same meme as somebody in the same public building.
Yeah, right. Like, how viral do you have to get for that
Yeah.
to be happening?
Pretty viral.
Pretty viral. course, I guess superheroes being discovered, that might do it.
Be pretty viral.
Be pretty viral.
That might get it.
Yeah. Man. Oh, one of the and this is funny because I'm just quoting our original CLE review. The character in Split is so good. James McAvoy's performance should have at least been nominated. Of course, a movie like that would never be nominated, but it just feels
because the critics don't get his movies, man.
They just don't get him. They just don't like him. I agree in that case, but anyway, it waters down the character. When they just unleash the beast over and over and over again, and you see it from the very beginning of the movie, it's like all the mystery and suspense has just been killed.
You've just been waiting for this giant monster of this person to just come out for the entire movie.
Yeah.
And we already know from history that Shyamalan doesn't do well with watery characters.
Yeah, water's his weakness. But
And you know what? That's weird because it's like he's got a water thing in Lady in the Water. He's got a water thing in the Unbreakable series, and he's got a water thing in Signs.
Yeah.
What is it with that guy? Can that guy not swim?
well,
Maybe.
there are a lot of religious themes, especially when you watch the first two movies.
Yeah.
There are a lot of religious themes in Shyamalan movie, and I think a lot of it is water. It's that
The purification.
purification of water, especially in Signs.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in Signs. Man, I feel like there was one other thing I was going to say, but at this point, couldn't have been terribly important, I guess.
No, there's not much more to say.
This was the one last thing. This was the one last thing. There's a really cool part in the movie where Sarah Paulson, who during the movie you think she's the worst psychiatrist in the world, which it does pay off, I guess, in the sense that you find out she's not a psychiatrist. She's actually head of an evil organization.
Villain.
Yeah. But there's a part in the movie where she is convincing all three of them that no, you're not special. Like everything that you've done is in your head.
Oh, that is actually a note that I put down. Like, David, you aren't a superhero, but you do have brain damage.
Yeah, exactly. And that part of the movie really works for me. I'm like, they should have went this direction and maybe ended on something ambiguous. Like, oh, is it real?
Do they have superheroes?
Do they have superpowers?
Yeah, yeah.
Shyamalan's not down for ambiguity, man. He's going to spell it out to you
Hey, you're stupid.
in 14-point font, bold.
Comic Sans.
Yeah.
Comic Sans. Bold Comic Sans on top of that. Ugh. Okay, let's move on. Right.
Yeah.
So let's see.
We're
Where
at
does
number
that
6
leave me
now,
right now?
Or number 5.
Number 6.
Yeah, number 6, which I had Glass originally. My number 7 was The Village. Is it time to start discussing this Village thing for you guys? Are we still waiting a little bit?
No, I'm too far.
What do you have?
Okay, so The Visit was my number 8.
Okay.
My Glass is number 6 for me, and should we talk number 5 is for
Well,
me?
where do you have what do you have for number 5?
Number 5 is Split for me.
Ooh, interesting. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to team up with Frank on this one because my number 6 was also The Visit. My number 5 is The Village. I'm willing to step Village down.
Okay.
Because honestly, I am totally comfortable saying The Visit is better than The Village.
Yeah.
I have no issues with that.
Oof.
I'm sorry, Danny. I know this blows you out of the water, but
They're both supposed to be horror movies. There's nothing that's horrific to me about The Village, and I feel like when we'll get into it when we talk about it.
Is The Village supposed to be a horror movie?
Maybe another psychological thriller.
Are we talking about it right now?
I feel like
It's like a psychological thriller drama, and it's way further up for me, guys. But I will bring it down, I suppose.
I don't want it to be further up, and hearing you saying that you have Split is 5 is what's bothering me.
Well, The Visit
need
for
to start
me,
playing- I
The
need to
Visit
start
for
playing
me
smart.
was a long time ago.
Yeah, The Visit's really low for Danny.
Yeah, like that's number 8 for me.
Ooh.
interesting.
I don't know.
So
This is what I
Now-
said was going to happen in the list. At this point.
So this is
Danny was
where
right.
we really get contentious. This is actually kind of fun. This has never happened
we have
before.
to duke it out now.
Like The Village has to be lower than The Visit for me.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to side with Frank. I'm going to make an alliance with him, and I hope this will benefit me in the future. I'm sorry, Danny.
Very interesting.
That's fine.
We got to talk about The Village.
I should make my point about The Visit when it comes to why it's down there.
And the whole reason I want to do it this way is because I am ready to concede The Visit to the next spot if we have to,
Yeah,
so
that's
that
what
you
I'm
can
saying.
still lower it with your average. Because I have it up there. I'll be honest, it's in my original top 3.
Whoa, okay. So Danny had it like way at the bottom.
Yeah.
You had it way at the top, and I had it smack dab in the middle. It was my 6 originally.
How funny.
Okay, so let's talk about The Village.
Yeah.
Apologies,
Yeah,
Danny.
voted.
And
That's
then
fine.
we'll hit The Visit after this. Just real quick synopsis. The Village is a story about, a group of like Puritan settlers living in the woods, and there are entities in the said woods, and they follow a very strict sort of religious cult-esque set of rules until events happen at the end of the movie that force you to face your fears.
They have a covenant with these said
Yes.
evil beings
A covenant.
to not venture beyond the woods because that is their territory.
Yeah, they're doing hood rat stuff in there. They don't want you seeing what
And you
they're up
can't
to.
wear the color red
Yes.
because it attracts, and it's actually the beast's color or whatever they are. What were they called?
Those
The
we don't
others.
speak of.
Those we don't speak of. That's right.
He who shall not be named.
Let's
This
see.
movie-
By the time we're done talking about the village, I want us each to pitch a name for that monster.
Oh, okay. I already got mine.
Spiky snort.
Skloop
Wow, that's very similar to the alien we talked to years ago.
I think it is.
We did a podcast.
That's what I was trying to reference. Maybe I failed, but well, maybe Frank should hit us with the good old Noombas before we continue.
Number time, 6.5 out of 10 on IMDb, 43% on Rotten Tomatoes, made on a budget of $60 million, pulled in $50,746,142 on opening weekend, and worldwide grossed $256,697,520. Pretty good chunk of
It's an
change.
early Shyamalan.
Chunk of change.
That's why.
Chunk of change.
He hadn't ruined the market for Shyamalan movies yet.
This movie is
This was the beginning.
Yet.
This is a super polarizing movie, and
Yeah.
it has been a polarizing movie since it came out.
As just seen on this ranking episode.
Absolutely. This movie is a fantastic drama in my mind. It is a really great drama. It has a really good commentary on how human nature works and how humans are willing to work within the confines of like imaginary structures because of their fears.
I wholeheartedly agree with Danny. With one caveat of, yes, the plot does something really dumb at the end.
Yeah.
And there are a few clunky scenes of dialogue, but for me, most of the dialogue really works.
It's 75. I agree with you. Like the twist is dumb, but 80% of that movie is fantastic. And I also, like the delivery is great. The characters are awesome. The character actors are amazing.
It's got a fantastic cast.
cast is
I
awesome.
cannot disagree there. The cast is great. A
sounds
lot of
like-
them aren't doing their best work.
That sounds like something someone from the village would say. I cannot disagree with you there.
I cannot disagree.
I mean, and then I watched this when I was young because this came out like what, 2008, 5?
It had to
2004.
have been around.
2004?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I got the dates in front
I
of me.
was 13.
I saw this opening weekend with 3 people we grew up with. One of them being Andrew McMillan, dear friend. And we went there with not a plan. Saw what was playing and was like, well, are we going to watch The Notebook? Or are we going to watch this Shyamalan movie? And we're like, well, let's go see the Shyamalan, I guess. I was like, I don't know.
The Notebook's
I've heard
sold
good
out,
things
so
about,
let's go to
I've heard really good things about The Notebook. Maybe we should watch The Notebook. And we walked out of the theater and I was like, I told you guys we should have watched The Notebook. And there were not a lot of disagreements. I was pretty upset leaving the theater.
New podcast segment though, where we compare like an opening weekend and it's like, what movie should you have watched?
That's pretty fun.
That's
would
pretty
be pretty
good.
cool.
I saw this movie in theaters. I still considered myself pretty young at 13. I was actually scared for the majority of the movie because those things actually freaked me out until I saw them up close.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the entire time I was watching it, it just felt like a good drama. And I don't know, you get to see like the love triangle work out. It's not even a love triangle really, but I don't know. The characters are great and they're really fleshed out well. And you can see the motivation in the elders as to why they made this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I also saw this opening weekend, which is weird. Maybe we were in like the same theater. That'd been even
Probably.
crazier.
I'm sure I saw it on the west side.
Oh, well, I saw it on the east side because I was an east side kid.
West side?
But yeah, the movie I think has great tone. One of my favorite aspects of the movie is the score.
Yeah.
He worked with James Newton Howard on all of his early films like Signs, Unbreakable, Sixth Sense,
And Lady in the Water.
and Lady in the Water.
And After Earth.
Is he on After Earth too? Okay, well, for me though, it
Those
doesn't.
are bad.
They're not as the scores aren't as memorable. Whereas The Village has this really creepy like folk song quality to it.
I'll be honest, I don't even remember the score from The Village.
Oh, the score from The Village is beautiful, and it's mostly a violin like solo with
Yeah.
accompaniment of various instruments.
Are you sure you aren't thinking of Signs?
It is in Signs too. But in this movie, the soloist is Hilary Hahn, who's like god tier violinist.
When I watched this movie, it was giving me vibes from The Witch after having watched The Witch.
Yeah.
And going back to this.
Another random story about students, because I have this one kid who I chat about movies with all the time, and I was telling him, like, hey, have you ever heard of The Village by any chance? I just watched it. And he was like, no, I haven't. What's it about? And which I thought was crazy. Like, and that's what I was saying. Kids who are like 14 or 15 have never seen these movies.
It's so crazy.
Like maybe Sixth Sense, but they probably haven't seen Unbreakable. They probably haven't seen this one. They probably haven't seen Signs. And for some of these, like this one, I feel like you shouldn't spoil it. Like Michelle had never seen this movie before.
Oh, wow.
And part of it's ruined because she knew what the twist was. I mean, it's unavoidable. Both twists, really. This is a double twister.
This definitely goes in the same camp as The Sixth Sense, where like if you know the twist, it's going to make your watching completely different.
Yeah, you want to experience it first. That's the real true experience, like getting the twist. And then, you know, you can appreciate it later after you know, but to have your first time watch it being spoiled. But anyways, I was like, yeah, you know, it's about these people. They live in the woods. It's like a Puritan cell. He's like, oh, is that The Witch? And I was like, no.
But no, it's not as good as The Witch.
It's definitely not as scary.
I'll agree.
The Witch is like terrifying.
Yeah.
But kind of some similar themes for sure between the two of them.
Like Sticks.
It's
Put on
the
sticks.
hubris of man and working within the confines of a construct of like an imaginary construct like religion.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Man, I got to shout out William Hurt in this movie. I love William Hurt.
He kills it.
Every scene he has is just so impactful. And I think Joaquin Phoenix too. Like we hadn't really
even Adrian Brody is so.
Oh yeah,
movie.
Dude, Brendan Gleeson, Michael Pitt, like like Sigourney Weaver.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah,
it's
a great cast.
Even Bryce Dallas Howard has a great performance in this movie.
Yeah, she does do well, especially in like the later half of the movie when it's just her.
And Judy Greer's hilarious. Sometimes M. Night Shyamalan's humor doesn't totally land for me. It's like this weird dad humor kind of thing. But in this movie, there's some really hilarious intentional cuts. Like there's Judy Greer confessing her love to Joaquin Phoenix and if you want to be with me, we can be together forever and blah blah blah. And then it's just like quick cut to her crying in her sister's lap. It's just so hilarious.
It's going to be really hard for me to gripe about this one in this ranking just because all my gripes are like with the second half of the movie.
Oh, okay.
And that part is so bad to me that it is it doesn't help out the first half for me.
So what is it that's bad about it? Is it literally the direction they go? Is it
the whole direction they go from the moment that you discover something else is afoot? All the reasoning and how they do things is nonsensical to me. I think it was all done very stupidly.
I mean,
it's tough without giving anything away, without getting too specific to make this argument.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think? Should we just say spoilers and now go into spoilers? Like, is that fair? I guess
I feel like it's old enough to be like,
because some of these we do want to discuss the nitty gritty.
And to be fair, we're not pretty good about warning people before we spoil things.
That's true.
I feel like at this point,
especially one of us,
this is the best job we've ever done.
Yeah, for real.
Okay, so if you're really curious, you know what? The rest of the movies that we haven't talked about yet are worth watching. Pause and please come back.
Yeah,
please
just come back.
Yeah, you'll feel more informed on this uninformed movie review.
It'll save in your YouTube if you're watching it on YouTube. You just come back and finish watching it. You know what I mean?
You hit it, dog. So what do you say?
Tell us about it.
So, from the moment you find out that these monsters aren't real, that they're like people in suits, you know what I mean? As soon as it's like Adrian Brody's character in the suit, if it really is like just a handicapped person in a suit, why is he like growling, and why does he have like this superhuman like ability to like track through and stuff?
Fever dream? She's going through a fever dream because she ate like mushrooms. She was given mushrooms by one of the dudes. She like ate mushrooms while she was out there. She was like hungry.
I really don't
remember the mushroom part.
Yeah, because I know like
were you in a fever dream?
No, I'm sure because there's like this whole swirling part of her like not knowing where she is. She's like freaking out. I think maybe she's hurt.
I thought that was just
the disorientation of being panicked and being blind.
It could be hallucinations from a panic attack.
And
or
then
something.
Michael Pitt and her new brother-in-law leave this blind girl out in the woods when they think a killer monster is out there.
They don't know.
She knows it's not real, but they think there's really a killer monster. And they leave this blind girl out in the middle of the woods.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
And the way he's like hunting them, that doesn't make any sense.
But isn't that also like a commentary on like how society treats disabled people too?
Well, here's the thing I gotta say. First off, I feel like this isn't a very good depiction of a disabled person.
No.
Oh,
And I feel like
Very rarely do movies like do it great, you know?
M. Night Shyamalan also has this very problematic thing about portraying disabled people or handicapped people as villains.
Oh,
And something we should be scared of,
interesting.
which I think in most of these situations, these people would be harmless. But if we play within the rules of his universe, we have to say that Adrian Brody is committed to this character. He's committed to the bits.
He's done
and he's
really well.
following through with it.
But with like Adrian
He
Brody,
followed
you
through
can,
so well that he fell through a hole and slapped himself.
I mean, it's kind of sad. Like you can see his motivation. Like he loved this girl, and
Yes.
that's his. He's she's not in love with him. Like she could never love him. She loves him as like a friend or like someone she takes care of. But
that I can kind of excuse, especially having his like childlike state of mind. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He doesn't have like
he can't reason.
a way to like adult emotional awareness, like that kind of immaturity. Now, who should have that are all these people who started this stupid village in the first
Yeah.
place. Like everybody goes through loss, everybody goes through sad times. There's violence all over the place. Grow the fuck up.
Yeah, yeah.
And don't start a cult in the middle of some wildlife reservation.
Well, I disagree with this part because they each went through horrific details.
Yeah.
They were in this group together, and then it's the idea that's like we all hate society. We all hate these aspects of the society.
Like my brother was murdered.
Yeah.
And
My father
people
was
were robbed and
murdered. My
murdered,
sister was like raped and murdered. It's like all these really terrible things. And then William Hurt's like, you know what, guys? I have a buttload of money from my father who was killed. So why don't we give it a shot? Like, why don't we start society ourselves? We're all so unhappy. Let's do it. But then the sad thing is that they can't escape it. That
No.
it's going to happen
It's
no matter
inevitable,
what.
yeah.
Yeah, people are going to
It's
be
human
jealous.
nature.
And people are going to want to take things that aren't theirs.
yeah, it's gonna happen.
But for Adrian Brody, I hate to like make criticism like this is what I think should have happened, but I think like him stabbing Joaquin Phoenix is super effective.
oh,
And
it's an
really-
awesome scene. You're
That
just
I
like,
like.
oh my
Scene.
god.
I like the quietness of the
How
scene.
he just stands there and he's
Yeah.
all like quiet and
That's
like
where
yeah,
the Shyamalan close-ups really like do well.
Yes.
on his hands and all that.
But I
too.
feel like they needed to choose something else because the other problem with having him in the suit running around the woods chasing Bryce Dallas Howard is that as the audience, we already know the suit is fake.
Yeah.
The reveal has messed it all up. We know it's not true. So for us, it's like, we're already like, well, this is ridiculous.
yeah.
As opposed to if he was really that angry, why we even wear the suit? You know what I mean? She's blind. She can't see you anyway.
They should have just made the reveal him falling in the pit and you see like what?
Yeah.
He's in the suit?
And
Yeah.
then boom, then
That
hit
would've
the
been
flashback.
good.
Then William Hurt shows
Then
him.
hit
yeah.
the flashback.
I
Yeah.
might not have been yearning for the Notebook that much if it was organized better that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And it would have also been kind of interesting because she brings up to the other two guys when they first enter the woods, like, these are the magical stones that will protect us. And these guys are like, why have we never heard of these stones before?
What?
But if we were there with the audience, that might have been interesting. That would have
Yeah.
been like, what is
Possibly.
going on?
Oh.
And then when you see her drop the stones after those two guys take off, it's like, what's going to happen now? But
Damn.
The
Shyamalan
rearranging,
really just
yeah.
needs an editor like we got for the channel, and that's you, DP. the
Okay,
DP.
director of photography, I should head over there and help him out. I'll
Yeah.
throw him a bone.
Yeah, just say, hey, you want help in the editing room?
It's like the episode of Sunny. Like, I'm more of a big picture kind of guy.
I just love the commentary of this movie. I think it's written really well. It's just the arrangement of it near the end. The third act of the film, let's say,
Yeah.
is really where things fall apart.
We'll re-edit the movie ourselves.
I'm sure there's already someone that's like how the village should have been.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Village should have been. Yeah, that might have been very nice.
I still love it.
Yeah.
I rewatched it recently, obviously for this, but then before we were deciding to do the Shyamalan thing, I rewatched it, and it was just as good as when I first saw it.
It's one of those movies I just love to look at. I just
It's
love the way it
beautiful movie,
looks.
yeah.
It's great, striking style. And to me, I can forgive a couple stupid plot things.
yeah.
For me, I'll probably never watch this movie again. I like
Interesting.
wouldn't have unless we had done this thing, you know. It's one of those for me. This is the last like movie for me on my list, like the way I wrote it out, that was like in the straight up bad category. Everything else
Wow.
is like pretty good, like not as good as some of them.
Mine ended at The Happening. I think Glass on Up is at least worth watching.
Yeah, I think we're already in territory where I could watch these movies
Yeah.
again.
Yeah,
for
like
sure.
Glass, I'm like that.
on my list, Glass is above The Village. That's what I'm
that's
saying.
right,
Like,
that's right.
Oh, yeah,
that's
you're
the
right.
split for me. Like
Okay.
Oh, that's
The
square
Village
split
is the
for you,
last bad one for me, and Glass on I really liked.
Okay, so on to the next
though.
one.
We're at number 4 now.
No, we're at number 5.
number 5.
Is this mine?
I think it's me, but well, I don't know. We're all over the place
Who
because
cares?
like at this point, this is the messiest list we've ever had.
Yeah, because you guys asked what was my number 5. I'm pretty
Well,
sure.
I think we've already decided this.
Well-
Number 5 is going to be The Visit, right? Because we already
Yes.
kind of
Yeah, that's how we're
this.
conceding it. Yeah, we
Okay.
were at 6. This is 5. The Visit.
Okay, now I can tell you guys. I'm just kidding.
Well, real quick before we get into the arguing here, The Visit's about 2 kids, 2 siblings. The older sister is like an aspiring filmmaker. Okay, Shyamalan. And she wants to make a movie because her and her brother are going to visit her mom's parents.
Her estranged parents.
They haven't ever met their grandparents, and their mom hasn't spoken to her grandparents in 20 years. Or maybe not 20 years.
Oh, it's a
too
bit-
long.
yeah, it's like
is it 20
a
or
long
15
time.
at least? However
Yeah.
old the little girl is.
Yeah, it's got to be.
And then we get to we get that's pretty much it. It's a found footage style movie. Although there are moments of the movie where it's like, why is this even found footage at this point?
Doesn't need to be like because you have shots that aren't found footage.
Well, they all are, but they're all like there's
Staged.
a reason. You know what I mean? Oh, we happen to have 2 cameras right now. It's like, guys, just shoot a movie. But
Yeah.
anyway, I do want to toss out before we get into the numbers and stuff that this was Shyamalan's return after Earth. Studios weren't working with him, and Shyamalan took out a mortgage on his house to put together The Visit
Wow.
because he was like, "This is an all or nothing thing." He took it.
Did not know it was that bad for him.
He took it and screened
That's
it.
why you find footage. That's why you do a found
That's why you
footage.
do found footage.
Yeah.
He went to go screen it for movie executives. They hated it. He went back and re-edited the movie. Okay, let me use this take. Let me do this. Like multiple studios passed on it. He brings it back, gets another studio to watch the movie and says, you know what? You need to watch it with an audience. And gets an audience of like 500 people. They have a private screening of The Visit. The audience is like eating it up. And they get the movie and then boom, he's got another hit on his hands. Which, speaking of these numbers, I feel like this is a great segue.
So, 2015's The Visit has a 6.2 out of 10 on IMDb, a 68% on Rotten Tomatoes. Made on a budget of $5 million with those 2 little cameras.
Wow.
Had an opening weekend of $25,427,560 and will grossed $98,450,000.
This might be the bigger. What was the last one that was a real whopper? Gosh, I think it was either
Happening. The Happening was
or
Happening.
Even Glass made a ton of money.
Some of these
Yeah,
are.
Glass made
Glass
a
was 20
good chunk of
million.
money, 246 million.
Yeah, on 20
On 20 million.
million.
Woo! That's a huge.
That's a Ric Flair.
But I mean,
moment.
to turn out like almost $100 million off of $5 million, good on you, bro.
And the other thing too is that typically sequels do better because there's name recognition.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Glass was a particular case. Also, that Shyamalan's only sequel. Everything else is always completely original story. Nothing tying into anything
Does
else.
Split count as a sequel because it's in the same?
I'm not counting it.
Yeah,
as a
okay.
sequel. That's-
It's a shoehorn sequel.
Halfway through that script, he was like, "Oh, you know what I could do?
This one's kind of superhero. Okay, can I talk about this really
Yeah,
quick?
man.
Okay.
You're the
Yeah, hit us with the poo poo really quick.
With why
'cause
we're
You've
wrong.
been holding on to it for a minute.
I love this movie. I do love this movie. I saw it
Same.
in theaters. It was great. I was like, wow, I feel so good. Shyamalan's back. I had put off in my head what actually put me off about this movie until I rewatched it again. And I didn't want it to bother me as much as it did, but it almost made the movie unwatchable for me. That's why I had to bring it all the way down there. And it is the kid, the little boy,
T Diamond Stylus.
T Diamond Styles, and his stupid, like the rapping is unbearable. I understand like 1 or 2 times in the movie, but it's like 5 times, and then the ending sequence, if we didn't have enough, is him. And it's enough to make me be like, dude, if that was completely out of the movie, this movie would be like top tier for me. This
Interesting. Okay.
Well, see, like neither of you have had little brothers before, and so I don't know if you know this.
I was just
but
about
they
to-
can be pretty cringy sometimes.
I don't need it in a movie though to actually cringe from it. Like it's not an episode of The Office or something
like Growing Pains.
You know what I mean? Like,
I really like. It's not that I'm a big fan of the character, but I really like that in the first half of the movie because it kind of it kind of throws you off of the beat a little bit. You're like,
Okay.
like all right, where this maybe I'm about to watch another crappy Shyamalan movie.
Yeah,
and then that's not what you get. He kind of pulls the rug out from under you in a great way in the second half. I feel like the dread and the horror aspects are so good in this movie. Like, my goodness.
And then another thing that turned me off is that I heard, I don't know how true this is, but I heard that like the kid just started doing rapping like when he was on set one day, and then Shyamalan like wrote it into more of the movie, and that makes me like so much more angry.
It is cringy. It kind of feels like the two kid actors. It's almost, but not as bad as Gran Torino's two child actors.
Ooh, dog.
That is unbearable to me. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the rapping is pretty cringy, especially
it's pretty bad.
Especially the last one. Like, it's
There's
unnecessary
so
in the credits.
much.
There's just so much of it.
But one or two times would have been funny.
Yes, and that's fine.
Yeah, when you get to 4 or 5, then yeah, you're pushing it a little too far.
Yeah, it was overplayed for sure. I can agree with that.
But I love the movie, and it works perfectly. It has, I mean, the grandma is totally scary the entire time.
Yeah.
There are like some problems with some of the dialogue, and like you said, the way that they utilize the two cameras, it's like shoehorned in a little bit. My biggest dialogue problem is when the girl's talking about downloading the definition of sundowning. Like, you're telling me she downloaded the definition.
I don't think Shyamalan knows how to use computers.
Yeah, he might not.
Yeah, it doesn't. And again, this is another one of like a real like mental ailment that is being reduced to these
horror
people
aspect.
are psycho killers now. It's like, this is like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a woke, like a Gen X or Gen
Well, this
Z.
one's also a little bit different too, because these people had their mental illnesses that made them dangerous before they were seniors. So it's the dread on it is like two people who already belonged in a mental hospital because they were violently hurting other
ill,
people.
yeah.
Like, they were violently ill, plus like dementia and like old age setting in on top of
That's
it.
true.
That extra little spice, I feel like it was what really makes
For
it.
me, the creepiest part of it also was that like just the thought of like going to see your grandparents and realizing that the two people that you've been around are just complete strangers.
Two totally
like
different
total
strangers.
strangers. Like,
That Shyamalama twist, this is a good one. This is one of my favorite ones, I think.
can we talk favorite scenes? What's your favorite scene in this whole
My
movie?
favorite scene is when she's going out to the barn to find her grandpa, and he's got a shotgun in her mouth. He's got a shotgun.
I was
in his
just
mouth.
cleaning it.
I was just cleaning. It's like, what is happening
that was
right
really
now?
good.
That's really good.
What about you, Frank? What's your favorite scene in this movie?
My favorite scene, just like horror wise, and then I have to give a shout out to like my least favorite scene plot point. My favorite scene horror wise is like when shit has totally hit the fan. You know what I mean? Grandpa's the kitchen, when he's in the kitchen with T Diamond Stylus, man, and he just leans up really close to him. He's like, I never liked you.
yeah. And what he does after
Becca,
that, and he just puts the diaper in his face.
Dude, yeah. From like game night on, it's just like, oh boy.
Yahtzee, I'm a Yahtzee champion. You can't be a Yahtzee champion. That takes 30 years.
And I love that, I love that Pop actually picks up the camera so that we can see the poop on the face.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yes.
nice. I'm really glad that
My
character
favorite
decided
scene
to do
is
that.
in the crawl space. That's awesome. That's the best scene in the entire
That's when
movie.
it gets really crazy for sure.
You just see her like look around the corner and stuff. Yeah, man. Woo.
It's also your first shot of old lady butt in this movie.
Oh.
There's a couple old lady
I
butt scenes
forgot
in
about
this
that.
movie.
Yeah. Yikes. And the whole like when they open the door and she's just scratching on that other
Yes,
yeah,
man.
man. That's crazy.
So my like least favorite scene, just because it's so dumb, is like right before everything gets really crazy and we get the twist and everything, when they're watching the confrontation between fake Nana and Pop out front and Stacy, the like other girl who used to be at the.
Yeah.
Why would Stacy agree to? She's so
She
afraid.
knows.
She's like, don't touch me. Like, I know something's wrong here. And then she agrees to go to the back of the house
we'll
with
go
them.
with you. Yeah.
Like, whoa, with no convincing. He's like, well, just come in the back. Just come in the back. And she's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
And that's why she got hung from a tree.
Oh,
Idiot.
yeah.
That's pretty
Stacy
dumb.
deserved it.
But
Bad move on her part.
yeah, man.
This movie's great. Don't get me wrong. I had to spite rank because I am mad.
That is spite rank.
I am mad.
But you spite ranked it under The Happening? That's too far for a spite rank, Danny.
That's rude and lewd, Danny.
Yeah.
You know what? I
It's
didn't
rude,
have a rude white kid rapping terribly for a good. This is probably a good 20 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
If you splice it all together, I bet you'll have 20 minutes of him rapping.
I don't think 20, maybe like 6 or 7, which is too much.
Which is way too much.
Maybe 8 or 9. But here's the funny part.
Include the ending sequence too.
You were probably that little white kid rapper. That was like your older sister in the movie. Like,
No, Danny wasn't rapping. He was making those
Anime music
movies.
videos?
Yeah, the music
I was a
videos.
weed. Let's be real.
He was
about it.
AMVing it. He was just like, oh my gosh, did you see the new episode of Trigun? Oh my God.
I'm going to put this Rob Zombie song to Yu Yu Hakusho. I did do that.
That might be cringier than rapping.
Hey, man. No, it's not. No, it's still not. No.
Biased.
He had a couple good lines in that. He had a couple good flows in there. Okay.
And then he ends everything with ho or
That's
I
how
do
you
like
do it.
I do like the gag of him replacing curse words with famous females words.
Oh.
That
Yeah.
was really funny to me. I do like that.
That kind of worked for me. It's some of the M. Night Shyamalan humor. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did that in 40-Year-Old Virgin, so.
There's part of it though where he seems like an alien. Like, this is funny, right, guys? You know what I
There's
mean?
a reason Shyamalan doesn't write comedies, you know?
Yeah. Except for Stuart Little. Okay, so what's number 4? Now we're getting into the
I feel like we'll
nitties.
hop back on track,
gritties.
but we actually might not because one of the ones you had lower was one I had way higher.
For number 5, I had Unbreakable.
Huh. No.
I mean, it's only one off for me now at this point.
Oh.
My 4 is Signs.
No.
Yeah, I also have Signs.
What's your
As number 4?
No, higher.
Signs is so much higher.
Yeah.
Number 4 is The Sixth Sense for me.
What?
Okay, interesting.
What? Okay.
For the reason depends.
Okay. So what are we talking about
Very,
next?
very interesting. Very interesting.
we
Because
even do
we're
this?
trying to figure out 4.
We're trying to figure out 4.
For the sake of
My number 3 was The Village.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
that is crazy to me. Yeah.
I could go Unbreakable.
Yeah, I have Unbreakable 5. I have Sixth
wouldn't
Sense
be-
pretty close.
I wouldn't be
I'm in
thrilled.
the area for Sixth Sense for me.
Y'all are straight up crazy.
So what are you having?
Well, it's like this is this is the part of my list that these are all movies I really enjoy, and this
Yeah.
is where it got like tough for me.
Yeah.
He still needs to rank.
I still need to rank Unbreakable.
Yeah.
But Unbreakable has been left behind for me
Yeah.
at this point.
I have nothing left behind so far.
Unbreakable's higher for me. But all right. I could put Unbreakable. I can
You can do
interchange
4?
it. It's hard to say, man.
What would be the other option other than Unbreakable? Would Signs be possible
It's so
for you
tough.
guys?
It's like no, Signs is still not a possibility for me. Sixth Sense is more possible.
Sixth Sense is more
for me.
possible for me.
I can't agree on Sixth Sense, guys. I'm sorry. That's asinine. that's a ridiculous statement.
I have a reasoning why I did it, but
You guys are going to give me one of those, well, we've just seen it so many times.
No.
It's really lost
No,
a lot of
No,
its allure,
on
blah,
this
blah, blah.
on this rewatch, I found some like
this movie's fantastic still.
yeah, it's
It's
great.
a great
Yeah.
rewatch.
Okay, anyway.
Are we talking about it?
Unbreakable.
Okay, all right.
We're settling on Unbreakables. What's
all right,
happening
all
here.
right. I'll do that. Fine. All right, so Unbreakable.
Yeah.
All right, Unbreakable. David, you want to hit us with that plot synopsis?
Well, you know what? There's a character named Mr. Glass whose bones are like glass. They break.
I feel personally attacked.
And the kids call him Mr. Glass, just like Frank. And Mr. Glass is
They actually just called me fat.
Mr. Glass is a comic book aficionado. By they, he means Danny.
Yeah, I mean my close friends.
Yep.
He's a comic book fan. He spent his life in hospital beds reading comic books, and he decides, if I'm at one end of the spectrum, what if there's someone who doesn't break bones, doesn't get hurt, never gets sick? It turns out that guy's Bruce Willis the whole time. And this is a superhero story set in a very, very real, grimy.
A superhero story that I can get behind.
Yeah. Oh yeah. An original superhero story too. No, there's no adaptation here. And also, notably, before superhero movies were really a thing.
And no origin story.
I mean, this is the origin
This is
story.
the
Yeah, but it's
origin.
not really like an origin story. We don't figure out why he has powers.
Oh,
It's just
that's
like
true.
it's like an X-Men kind of thing. He's born with it.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's Maybelline.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
It's fluoride.
Do you want to hit us with these? Do you want to hit us with these numbers on what we're counting as his sophomore movie?
It's number time, y'all. Made on a don't get ahead of yourselves, Frank. 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 70% on
low.
Rotten Tomatoes. I also feels like a little bit low.
Yeah.
Budget of $75 million. Had an opening weekend of $30,330,771. Worldwide grossed $248,118,000.
That's hefty.
Well, you got Bruce Willis on a picture,
And it's his
and
second.
hot off Sixth Sense, which was monumental.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I this is one that I really have no complaints about.
It's a great movie.
It's down a little bit, maybe just because some of it's a little bit hokey, I guess, a little bit. But most of this movie really works for me, man.
Some of it drags.
Yeah,
part of it.
It could.
But the rewatch value is high on this one.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think for the most part, the pacing is like you get the intro, which starts off with the train crash.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's our cold open, and we find out that this train crashes, and that Bruce Willis is miraculously unharmed. He's the only person who survived, and that's where our story gets kicked off, and we kind of see him turn into a superhero. There's he's a security guard at a
Baseball stadium.
Baseball stadium, yeah. And there's a scene where he thinks that M. Night Shyamalan has drugs on him. That's M. Night Shyamalan's cameo in this one. And he goes to check him, and then he's like, "Well, whatever, man. I'm just trying to watch baseball." What's hilarious is in the beginning of Glass, M. Night Shyamalan has a cameo where he's at this character, Bruce Willis and his son, have a security shop in Glass. And M. Night Shyamalan has this clunky bit of dialogue right at the beginning. He's like, "You look familiar. Did you ever work at the baseball stadium? You know, I was into some pretty messed up things back in the day, but I'm glad I got my life on track."
And that's one of the things of him like tying those two universes together, because I'm pretty sure he's wearing the exact same outfit too in Split when he's like the maintenance security
right.
guy.
I didn't think about that. Huh.
Oh, because he realized, oh shoot, I really shot myself in the foot here. I need to make
like
sure
he had
these
to grow
characters
his
are the
hair
same.
out again to like match this guy.
Yeah, that's right.
How crazy. I didn't put that one together.
I think that's a fun little tie-in. I don't know. What do you guys have to say about Unbreakable?
I love Unbreakable. It's super fun. I feel like all the dynamics work. Like the father-son thing works. The like broken marriage thing works. Those two characters have like that good like anti-chemistry. They're really good at like having that tension there. There might have been like too much of it. We probably could have trimmed out like maybe like the date night could have been shorter.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like everything works in this movie. I really like that it's not over the top in any way.
Yeah.
He didn't and as I've said before, that's when Shyamalan gets like a problem, was when he like goes too far in one direction. The way that he kept everything so grounded in reality like is what makes Unbreakable so good.
Especially when he finally gets out in the field, he starts superheroing, and you expect it to be like, well, it's like Spider-Man.
He'll have this one kick-ass night.
He's gonna get this purse snatcher, and he's gonna beat up these carjackers. It's like, no, this dude is like done a home invasion, is like killed the parents and kept the kids hostage and stuff. And when he goes in, it's not like a glorious fight. It's like him strangling this guy from the back.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's
man.
grounded in reality,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. And like we were saying, this is one of the examples of Shyamalan having a main character, especially Bruce Willis, who was probably honestly fine with the rest of his life. He could go on living his life exactly as it was. And he didn't have any drug problems. I mean, he had a divorce. He would love to get his family back together maybe, but like, that's it. I mean, honestly, there's no like tragic story of him other than the thousands of people that died on that train.
And that plane and what was the other one?
The fire in the
building. Yeah.
I have a couple of things that I wrote down on this one. First off, this is one that's too dark.
Oh,
yeah.
This is another one that's way too dark in some scenes.
Even the cover is quite dark.
Yeah. They have a dumb pre-movie text. It's like every year, 2 million comic books are printed. They're an average of 25 pages long. And then coupled with that, we get some of this hokey writing with Samuel L. Jackson being like, well, I believe that comic books are passed down history of great events from our past that we have to tell through pictures, like the ancient Egyptians.
Speaking of Samuel L. Jackson going on and on, I love the first time he sits down with Bruce Willis and his son, and he gives him the whole spiel, lays it all out, and Bruce Willis looks at his son, he goes, "Joseph, don't take another sip of that water."
Yes, that is is good. That is really good. Throw that water in the trash.
Yeah.
But you know what? We get that stupid pre-movie text about comic books, which really doesn't play into this movie at all.
They don't even talk about like mythology or anything like that.
But we get dumb post-movie text too, where it's like, Mr. Glass has been locked away in the penitentiary for blah blah. It's like, what's this?
For terrorism.
We know this isn't a real story. Like, shut up. You know what I mean? No one believes this.
Going out to that super 2000s like theme music.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh, with that, and it's not like the synth stuff is really good, but the part that really dates it is like the rhythm track, like
Yeah.
that same rhythm track is on movies across the early 2000s.
Yeah. So it's like the same soundtrack as Pi.
Yeah.
We also get this, there's a couple things that Shyamalan loves doing, and I caught him in this movie in particular. He loves doing these slow motion shots, but reducing the frame rate. So it's like choppy slow motion. Like, it looks like he's like a flip book or something. He loves doing that. And that happens in this movie when the fight starts, when he gets up from behind the guy. And he also loves the God's eye shot, which is it's a camera frame above the scene.
It's like the opposite of a Quentin Tarantino trunk shot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Or a foot shot.
Tarantino. M. Night uses these in almost every movie. Like, and they're really prominent in the first
Definitely in
ones.
Split. I know he definitely does it in Split. I'm trying to think.
He did it one time and he was like, whoa, that's so cool.
Sixth Sense, when he's like bleeding on the bed. It's like whenever we're observing the events, you know, from outside, where we're supposed to be like, I don't know. It's almost like a spiritual experience.
In the village when Adrian Brody falls in the pit.
Yeah.
God's eye shot.
There's tons of God's eye shots in these movies. Unbreakable, man, I wish I had written down exactly. Oh, it's the flashback that they do the God's eye shot. Okay, I'm glad I took better notes in here.
Of the crash?
The crash, which you wouldn't know because you can't see anything during that whole scene. You can't tell what's going on, man.
That's how you make it on a $20 million budget.
Real dark.
Now, these are just some like really nitpicky things. This is what keeps it from being super high on my list.
It's funny that all his shots are so dark because he's so much about like hope. That's like his big thing.
Yeah.
Hope and finding your purpose
And
is
religion.
what Shyamalan's all about.
This is as inspirational as I'll get. You know what I mean? Shyamalan movies. Well, shoot, y'all. Anything else about Unbreakable? I feel like we're really going to get into it on these last three.
Worth a watch.
Yeah, we might as well
If
get
you
to the
haven't seen
argument.
Unbreakable, you should really watch it. Honestly, it's a great movie. Especially, it's a good palate cleanser after everything that kids are watching, like in terms of superhero movies nowadays. You might feel like, hey, this might be a little refreshing for you.
It's like, whoa, I have to think about this movie.
Yeah. Wait, when's he gonna like get his retribution and like when's he getting his costume? I don't get it.
When are they going to destroy Philadelphia at the end of this movie?
Exactly.
The giant CGI.
Where's the CGI?
Yeah, for me, it's the second best one in the trilogy.
Ooh,
Yeah, Split's better.
agree.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, what's our next movie? Number 3.
Mine was The Village.
Interesting. Okay, we kind of washed that out. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So I'm okay.
I had The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, I'm okay with The Sixth Sense.
Okay, before we settle on this, because I feel like this needs to be debated.
Yeah.
Wait,
How are you ranking other movies ahead of The Sixth Sense? Because to me, this is number 1. Like, it's got the best plot. It's got the best performances. It's got the best twist. It's got the best visual style. It's groundbreaking. Like, it's literally the movie that put him on the mark. It broke like box office records. I'm baffled, guys.
I mean, for me, the easiest way for me to tell you how I rank the other ones higher is like, I agree with all of that.
Yeah.
For me, it's not as a fun watch as the next two that are on the list for me.
And it's highly subjective for me. I do love The Sixth Sense, but after I watched it the first time, it hasn't been a great. The rewatch is great, and I get to watch it in a different sense every time I watch it.
In a
not
sixth sense.
in the seventh or the eighth sense after that. No, but like I mean, you get to pick up on the cues of everything after knowing the twist, and you get to like really appreciate everything in the acting past that, and you can dissect it. So great.
I just don't see in what world this is better than Signs. And Signs has some serious problems.
Signs is
Signs has serious problems.
Signs is one of my favorite movies of all
Guys,
time.
Signs
and
is
that's
like
what's good for me. I love Signs.
The water twist.
Love it.
Are you guys
I'm okay
you guys-
with that.
What?
I'm okay with that. There's
So
obviously
Frank's
something
complaining
very
about the
stupid.
plot holes at the end of The Village, but it's fine with aliens who can't take water landing on a planet that is a majority
70%
water.
water.
Yeah,
This is-
I would agree that the plot twist is dumb. The rest of the movie movie makes it up for me.
Okay,
Honestly,
so
yeah.
what is the point of our ranking episodes? Is it what movie is best?
No, I've always thought there was a little bit of
What movie
objectivity in it.
we just like.
It's subjectivity for sure.
It's all encompassing for me.
Because obviously,
asinine.
I have spite ranked every time I've done a ranking, and that's purely subjective.
And every time I'm like, this is a dumb decision, Danny. Your spite rank, like earlier this episode, your spite ranking visit
That was
this far
warranted.
down.
That was warranted.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like personally you can't go too cold hard facts on a ranking because like where does love come into it? You know what I mean?
Get me out of here with
Where
love
does
come
the
into it.
enjoyment factor
We're
come
shooting
in?
for number 3 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, the only 2 I have left are like Unbreakable and Signs. We've already talked about.
Yeah, that's what we
I'm
have.
sorry,
we just did Unbreakable.
Yeah,
The only
what we
2 I
have
have
left
left.
on the table is Sixth Sense, Signs, and Split.
All the S's.
Oh,
Weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are at the S tier.
We're at the
Then
S
that's what's
tier.
going to make this
Got you.
so hard.
So that's where I got messed up. Split was my number 5.
Weird. Okay,
So-
how about Split for number 3?
I had
put
Split
Split
for
number
number 4.
3. All right, let's do that.
I had Split for number 2. Why didn't we talk about this earlier?
All right, we can start
I think
yelling
I-
at each
I
other.
think-
Hold off on the yelling.
I think it's because we talked about Glass and Unbreakable, and at that point I was just like,
It's
"Oh, we already talked about Split." right?
I had forgot because we were at number 3, so that's what I was looking at. You know what I mean?
Well, I
Split
haven't-
had been left behind for
I
me.
haven't left any movies behind either, so it's been harder for you guys.
That's why
to
I was
keep
like,
track
"How
of.
are we there?" Anyway,
Okay, here we are at Split, the 2016 film, which you know what? I actually had as my number 2, which might have been too
Wow.
high. Might have been too high, but
it's great.
it's a tight little movie, man.
It is.
It's really good.
It's
Could
contained.
you have ranked it higher because you personally enjoy it more, David?
No, I think it's a better, stronger movie.
No, it's
than-
objectively
than
better.
Signs. Yeah, I mean, it is. Like, the plot's tighter. The performances are great. There's only 2 people in the movie, really. But yeah, anyway. So,
The performances are great in different ways. Oh wait, I don't want to talk about Signs. We'll get
so Split. For Split, we the story's really simple. You have the Beast, who's played by James McAvoy. What's the character's name again?
I thought his name was Francis or something, but that's one of them.
Kevin.
No, Kevin's one of them, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, the main, like, the person who has the disorder, Kevin
Wendell-Crumb. He has 25 split personalities.
Something like that, and
Or
counting.
24, maybe?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Beast
and-
is the 25th.
Yeah.
Yeah, and counting, I think was the tagline of the poster, I'm pretty sure. But he kidnaps Anya Taylor-Joy and 2 other young ladies and is keeping them...
Like, fairly easily.
Yeah. It's keeping them somewhere underground. And then throughout the movies, the girls are trying to figure out how to escape. And we get to see James McAvoy give like a crazy performance where he's just seamlessly going through heavily mannerized character to the next one. I don't know what the right word.
Yet they're
would be.
completely different people.
Completely different. Like it's one of the reasons why it's 2 for me, because it's almost like, I don't know if anyone's ever done this before, where they've sold...
Are you telling me you've never seen Eddie Murphy's The Nutty Professor?
Yeah, but Nutty Professor, at least there's different costumes and stuff. In this one,
Yeah.
in this one, there's no question over which persona he is just by what he does with his body, which is really incredible. That's more or less the movie. That's the plot. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a conflict at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the twist is they were in a zoo the whole time.
Well, the twist in this one is really that it's in the Unbreakable universe, which
and
is
it's after credits.
which
right?
can we even call? No, it's not.
Oh,
it's
it's
right
Just
before.
before the credits.
Can you even call this a plot twist, really? Because it has nothing to do with the plot.
No, you
it's
could
really,
call it a shoehorn.
Yeah, it is a shoehorn.
or like an Easter egg, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
A big surprise.
You can call it loose planning.
Numbers 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's one of his like longest ones. I think one of them might be longer, but 117 minutes on this bad boy. Made on a budget of $9 million. This is going to be another like low buy-in for him.
Another one that he put a mortgage out on his house to
Wow,
produce this movie.
again?
Damn.
He did it back to back.
He got a
was
little
like-
bit more money this time on that house. That's
Yeah.
good. He's building equity.
Exactly.
Had an opening weekend of $40,010,000. Worldwide gross $278,454.
Yeah, man.
$454,000.
Worth every penny for sure.
Yeah, made the money back.
Remember seeing this in theaters and being like, that was incredible.
Yes.
Yes, but it's a good time. And I feel like Shyamalan's pacing is very much like it is the kind of the same through all the movies. You know what I mean? It's kind of, there's not a huge ramp up until it's like time to get busy. But 3 minutes and 31 seconds into this movie, and you're like, oh man, what? Okay, all right. This is gonna be a little twisted.
Yeah, it's nice and concise. I love this movie. I like every point you're saying. Like this is a groundbreaking role for James McAvoy, and he is a fantastic actor. But this is like definitely like one that will be praised about for years and years and years.
It's criminal that they didn't toss him at least a nomination, at least a courtesy nomination.
Yeah.
But the movie is too weird to be an Oscar-nominated movie.
Yeah.
It's too out
Which is
there.
unfortunate. It's very good. It's a really good
And you also
watch.
have that problematic thing you're talking about with like characterizing mental illness as like the villain.
It's a little straight, especially in this one. It's like this guy needs help.
Yeah.
And they're just portraying him well,
like a serious amount of help.
But I love the subtlety in Anya Taylor-Joy's performance too, where she realizes this, and part of it is like legitimate sympathy for him, and part of it is like I need to take advantage of him and get myself out of the situation. It's equal parts like fear and like
strategy kind of,
and also like not guilt. What's the word I'm looking for? Sympathy. It's fear and sympathy
Empathy.
together.
Yeah, and you know what?
There you go. Thank
Anya
you.
Taylor-Joy makes a great final girl in this movie. Like, I feel like her decisions are solid all the way through.
Yeah,
And
she
that being
doesn't
said,
make dumb girl
even the
decisions.
other two girls do a pretty good job in that situation. Like, they're on top of it. They're ready to like. They're look. You see them all immediately looking around the room once they get like figure out what is going on. And I don't know. They're great characters in this movie, man. They're all making really good decisions.
I'm really liking Anya Taylor-Joy. She's one of my favorite actresses right now.
Don't
She's
watch
got
New Mutants then.
great performances. Yeah, I'm gonna stay away from New Mutants, man. But excited for so excited for the Northman. Just to bring that up one more time.
Totally,
Boy.
And Last Night in Soho.
dude.
Dang, and
Two
she's gonna
horror
be
movies?
Furiosa in the Furiosa
Oh, wow.
solo movie.
Wow.
Got some good ones coming up. I just think this one really works tonally. I think it's one of the least hokey. I mean, the only hokey stuff is some of the characters that he goes to. Like, what's the little boy's name? The forever 9-year-old?
Can't remember.
Hedwig.
Hedwig.
I like Hedwig. I love he's totally like a 9-year-old man.
Yes,
The way
yeah.
he's talking up how like he's this great dancer and then he dances like a 9-year-old would dance alone in their room.
Patricia is the
great.
best character.
Very
Hands
scary.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patricia's good.
It's
I mean, even Dennis, like the stoicism of Dennis is fantastic. And then like his OCD on top
who's
of
the
it.
meathead character too? I can't remember. Either way.
Oh, like he talks like a meathead, but he's like a fashion designer.
Yeah,
yeah.
He's like the one who has the light mostly, but I can't remember his name right now. Barry.
Barry.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome, man.
And compare it back to what we were kind of talking about with Glass. They're very subtle with like showing the beast in this movie, which is awesome.
But they do really good cinematography and like positioning of like perspective to make him look like bigger than he is, obviously.
Yeah.
And the clothing and the costumes to like make him fit each, like you can kind of see like in when he's dressed as Patricia, like that he's obviously like got physique and stuff. But when they dial it back, when he's like, what's the kid's
When
name?
he's Barry,
Hedwig?
when he's Hedwig, they dial it back. When he's Barry, they dial it back a bunch. You can really see it under Dennis's like clothes though, because he wears like those form fitting. Looks like a cult member.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah,
in
he
the-
does.
And you can tell like right before they film the beast scenes, like they have him do like 30 push-ups and run around because he's
Yeah.
like sweating
Or
and
is it drink a bunch of like sugar waters?
They might
like,
Yeah.
shoot him up with
bodybuilding?
like shark testosterone
Honestly,
and like
yeah,
a
I'm
little
sure
bit of
he's-
rabies.
he's ready to go.
Get him foaming at the mouth a little bit. Yeah.
It's incredible movie and one of a kind. A very unique movie.
Love it. Okay, back to the debate.
And fight.
Okay, well, you know what? If you guys are both on Signs being number 1, I can deal with Sixth Sense being number 2. I couldn't deal with Sixth Sense being number 3.
No.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. okay.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I forgot we had Split. So
Yeah.
that's why.
I had Split as 2, which honestly was surprising to me because for me, Signs was going to be a number 2.
I had the Visit, I believe, originally for.
Wow.
I had the Visit for number 2.
Pretty high.
I really gained a new appreciation for the horror in The Visit. Like, this is a behind the scenes peek for everybody. We had this one planned out super long time in advance. The idea was, man, this is 11 movies we got to watch. Some of them are stinkers. Give ourselves plenty of time. And I think I watched like 2 off of the bat. And then I forgot till like last week.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I was in crunch time. The Visit, I was intending to watch. I forget which movie I watched first, but this was like after work. I watched a Shyamalan, and then I was like, cool, I'll watch half of The Visit. And then halfway through, I was like, Nah,
I'm on this ride.
We're running it all the way through, man.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we should talk about The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, let's do Sixth Sense. You wackos.
Yeah, go ahead and give a synopsis for those who have never seen The Sixth Sense.
This is a
forewarned?
democracy, but like a Taiwanese democracy, except a little bit more. We don't throw chairs at each other, but might be some raised voices for sure.
So The Sixth Sense is a troubled young boy played by Haley Joel Osment in like the child performance of all time. Maybe
A much smaller faced Haley Joel Osment.
yes. He's a troubled young man who's seeking psychiatric help. Things aren't well at home with his mom, Toni Collette. It's not even really his mom in particular that the issue is. Is it Toni Collette? Am I getting this wrong? Or she? No, she's another character, isn't she? I always get confused because she looks so different in this movie. Yeah, she is. It is Toni Collette.
Oh, okay.
She just is like super young in this movie. Bruce Willis is the child psychiatrist. And what's the deal here? Well, he thinks he's seeing dead people. Is it true? Obviously it's true. And then the movie gets real spooky.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, what an amazing movie, and the rewatch value is super high. Actually, let's hit stats first.
Stat time, 8.1 out of 10 on IMDb and 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. Made on a budget of $40 million. A pretty like people give Shyamalan $40 million to make movies pretty often. They're like, a Shyamalan movie, I believe the going rate is 40 million.
Yeah.
For a guy who made a flop of an actual first debut movie.
Yeah,
Wow.
for reals.
Before Frank hits us with his next number, I heard an interview and he was saying that his first two movies, Praying with Anger and Wide Awake, collectively made around $300,000.
Oh my God.
So
Wow. Luckily, he did much better on The Sixth Sense. Had an opening weekend of $26,681,262 and a worldwide gross of $672,806,292.
This is the biggest whopper.
yeah,
Like,
and another thing too is that I heard him talk a little bit about the numbers himself. Shyamalan himself talking about the numbers. He was saying that by Sunday they had made more money than on Friday, which is like unheard of.
That's crazy.
That like word of mouth had traveled in just 2 days, and everyone was like, "We got to see this movie." And then the next week,
It had been spoiled for everybody by their coworkers.
they made almost the same amount of money second weekend,
God.
Wow.
which is unheard of.
But you got to think about it too. You're in an age where there wasn't the internet.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
at
there
least
was, but
not in the capacity,
not in the way
was
that it
now.
exists now.
Not even
Yeah.
cell phones. Not even texting was at the
Those web
capacity. that it
pages
was.
looked terrible.
yeah,
Like it was pure word of mouth, and for something to catch fire that quick by word of mouth, that's crazy.
should have been number one anyway.
I'm not going based on box office.
Like I said earlier when we started arguing, very no complaints about this movie. Really, it is a fantastic film. We are in
Some would say maybe perfect.
the top tier. You know what I mean? One big problem I have is the very first meeting of Bruce Willis and Haley Joel Osment. Like, what child psychologist stalks their patient and then follows them into a church? That's a little bit dumb.
Not
but
good.
also,
I'll tell you what kind of child psychologist.
a translucent one,
A ghosty one.
one that can't walk through a circle of salt.
Yes.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's the first time that it's like, oh yeah, this dude's. Are we spoiling? Spoiler alert!
Yeah.
Well, we
I
already brought this up way in the back,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah,
And we just spoiled it anyway.
yeah,
So
yeah. Oh, this guy's dead. Something's not right here.
yes.
Which is part of why it's my number 2, because I love this movie. It's great. It is a fantastic, objectively great movie. And like you're saying, objectively groundbreaking. Once you watch it, it's an amazing experience that you can never experience again from watching it and not knowing what happened.
But you could say the same thing about Signs.
No, because there's
Signs
no twist.
is like this.
There's no twist.
in Signs.
There's not a
Everything
twist.
happens for a reason. That fate is real. That's the twist in Signs.
Yeah, that is the twist.
That's like,
And if anything, I'm surprised you guys are going for that twist.
yeah.
There's just so much that I love about Signs, man.
I have a lot. I feel. All right. I'm kind of caught up in it because you're right about the fate thing, and it is part of it. But also, I just think it's a better movie. But
Okay, I'll stop being
it's a
so
more
combative.
fun movie for me.
Never stop, David.
Okay, I'll hit it on Signs real hard.
Since I've watched this movie, since I watched it the first time, I've watched it and dissected it in a different way every time I've watched it, and I get to appreciate it in a different way every time I watch it.
Yeah.
Which can also be said for Signs for me. But the performances in this movie are fantastic. It's just a little tiresome once you already know what's going on. I don't know. Because I've already watched it so many times, I kind of figured it out. But it's still fun.
This is where I'm going to cut back to that point that I said like 20 minutes ago in the episode where I was like, you guys are going to give me this nonsense about I've seen it too many times and it's blah, 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 blah.
I didn't do that.
That
is not my gripe with this movie.
Okay, Sixth Sense.
And it's not even that I have a gripe, you know? I just like the other one
I don't
more.
necessarily have a gripe either.
I think it's just me who has the gripe right now because this is ridiculous. But seriously, The Sixth Sense, I think some of the scenes are just so intense. It's like unbelievable. Like the funeral scene for the dead little girl.
Ooh, boy.
And
the whole
the
Munchausen, yeah.
The Shining sequence with the lady in the bathroom and all that. Oh my God.
Dude, even him getting locked in that weird little like elevator thing
at the top of the stairs at that kid's party.
And that lady in the bicycle scared me when I was a kid.
Dude, there's so many terrifying scenes in this movie.
Where she's just there at the window.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God.
Or the kid's like, I know where my dad keeps his
Hey, you want to see where my dad keeps his gun?
Yeah, man.
Oof. Woo. Amazing stuff there. And I think this twist in particular, no one saw coming.
No.
Like, this is a twist that got everybody. Unless you're like really pretentious for like, well, I knew what the twist was. I saw in the first 10 minutes.
And that's what makes it the rewatches so much better too. Is like you get to see how the characters are interacting with Bruce Willis and how
they're not
actually
the lack of
interacting.
interaction.
Exactly. Like he's not. His wife is never really talking to him.
How Bruce Willis is wearing the same clothes the entire movie. People aren't actually looking at him. Is another thing too. They're looking through past him, which is crazy. Staged perfectly. It's like Fight Club before Fight Club did it. You know what I mean?
That's true.
The whole confrontation with like his failed patient, like at the very beginning, that's super awesome. That's
Billy?
really tense.
Donnie Wahlberg.
Yeah,
that was Donnie Wahlberg.
That's Donnie Wahlberg. He's super skinny.
Yeah,
and
that's so
completely
funny.
neurotic.
I didn't even recognize him.
Yeah, me either.
And Shyamalan,
earlier when you were like Donnie Wahlberg has a better performance, I was like,
where's
I don't remember Donnie Wahlberg being in any
And
of
it's
these
funny how
movies.
you're watching that movie the first time and you just kind of like put that whole first sequence behind you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You're just like, oh, well,
yeah,
that must have been nothing.
That's the thing. He gives it to you right at the beginning of the movie. He spells it all out. He's not hitting you over the head like in Signs, but he's like letting you find it out for yourself, which is cool. I also think the other really crazy thing about the Donnie Wahlberg thing, M. Night Shyamalan was telling a story about one of the scariest moments of his childhood. His family is out for the day, spending the day together. They come back to their house. It's nighttime. And they're all parked in the driveway, and they see that the front door is open. And his dad goes inside with their dog to see investigate what's happening. And they find out, it's just, the doormat was stuck under, it got caught in the door and it kept the door open. It didn't close all the way. And then Shyamalan's like, well, weren't you scared, going in? Couldn't someone been in there? And he's like, the weirdest thing was when I was walking up, I had a distinct vision in my head of like a strange man just sitting at the end of my bed, like waiting for me when I got to the top of the staircase. And Shyamalan was like, that's one of the most terrifying things I ever heard. Like the idea of coming home and someone is just sitting there waiting for you. And I was like, oof, gosh.
When my mom was pregnant with me, they came home one time and found a man in the closet.
Whoa, what? Like,
I'm sure he was like
hiding in a closet, or like he was a homosexual.
You know what? My dad never mentioned his sexual orientation. He might not have had time to ask him when he was wrestling him to the ground and holding him at knife point.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you do, man. That's scary.
Right?
You know what's
Yikes.
I
was there, kind of.
This is a little like side convo, but like in what you guys are talking about and like things like that being scary is like there's something that actually does scare me that I read about on the internet
Spiders?
time to time. Well, obviously that, but that they haven't actually made a horror movie yet, and that's people living in your house
In the vents?
in the vents,
Yes, dude.
or in the walls or something like
People
that.
under the stairs.
Yeah, but they're put there for a reason. You know what I mean? This is like not knowing
you need
they're
a
there.
modern day version.
This is like not knowing they're there. Like the one that
Like a straight up person living in your walls.
Black Christmas.
There's straight up like a footage online of like some guy who like noticed food was missing in his pantry. He put up like security cameras and like he sees a lady pop out of the vent, go and steal some food and like dump her
Drink
like pee bottle.
milk straight from the carton. Super rude.
It's super rude. And then goes back in like it pops out of like the kids' room too when the baby's like sleeping or something. It's just That's something they need.
What
to
if that guy just like put a 2x4 over every single vent, just like drilled it into the wall?
Then they'd have some dead smell coming through.
Gosh.
Ooh.
Now there's a movie. All right, let's go.
I'm down.
They turn it on its head.
Got a little bit of Don't Breathe.
Yes,
like, mixed
exactly.
in there, yeah.
Like you're rooting for one character, but then it's like, what?
That movie's amazing.
Dang, we should write a movie.
You're locked in here with me.
Yes. It's been a while since we had a Watchmen reference in here.
From a very unlikely.
From Frank of all people.
You guys did this to me.
I don't know. Well, you got to shout out Toni Collette playing Desperate Mom. It's one of her best
Nails
roles.
it.
One of her best roles.
This is Haley Joel Osment's pinnacle role, like the best role he's ever.
Give me a better child performer. You know what I mean? Like than this role. I don't think there's ever been
him
one.
in AI. He like doubles himself in AI.
Damn, he does really
It's
good in
twice. AI. Yeah. Also, just something noteworthy. The American Film Institute has a top 100 list, the top 100 movies of all time. And they update it every decade, because they have to add movies. Well, when the 90s ended, they only added 3 movies. And this was one of them, The Sixth Sense. Which, from a director who is unheard of, like, this is really his first movie, quote unquote.
I mean, this movie
Pretty
got
incredible.
him, like, the praise of, like, Steven Spielberg and, like, Martin Scorsese and all these crazy good directors.
And good for Sixth Sense, too, because it came out right at the end of the 90s. You know what I mean? If it would have come out a year later, it would have had to wait another 9 years to figure out if it was going to get on the list or not.
Yeah. Okay, well, shall we head on over to Mel Gibson's crying face?
Dude.
That's definitely part of it.
Well, yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
All right, synopsis, Daddy.
Oh, yeah.
Give us that plot.
Jeez, okay, well, Mel Gibson's a farmer. He used to be a father, a pastor.
Still a father.
A priest.
Well, almost, though. But he's a priest. He's now retired on a farm, living with little Rory Culkin and Abigail Breslin.
Yeah.
Right? And Joaquin Phoenix, his brother, who's moved in to help out.
Meryl.
Turns out that there's a crop circle in their crops one morning, and they say, "What has caused this?"
Oh, those damn brothers.
I
those
forgot
damn
their
brothers
name
from the
too.
farms over.
Oh yeah, oh no.
It's got to be the so-and-so boys.
Yep.
Oh dude, I feel like I
didn't
feel
write
like it's
it
like
down.
Everly. No, it's not Everly Brothers. It's Waverly Bros. I don't know. It's something like
Okay,
that.
The Hazard Bros.
I'll find it. The Cunningham? No.
The Warner Brothers.
This is so mean. Okay, we'll find it. Oh, I'm looking at the Sixth Sense cast list. That's why I can't find it right now.
Oh, that would make it pretty tough.
But anyway.
And those characters are never featured. Like, they're not actual characters.
No.
They're just talked about.
One of them is, come on, y'all. You're the ones fighting for number 1. You don't even know this movie.
What?
No, they never confront
Lionel
the
Pritchard.
brothers.
The Pritchards.
Pritchard Brothers.
Oh, that's so funny. Because I made a note of, like, what's that actor's name?
Lionel
Michael...
Richard?
No, Lionel Richard. Michael Showalter. He's the one who plays, like, the Pritchard. And I just I always forget he's in there. And every time I'm like, oh, Michael Showalter.
Yeah. he's playing the character from Ferris Bueller's Day Off when she's in the police station. And,
Almost.
What's his face?
Charlie.
Charlie Sheen.
I was like, what's his dad's name? That's what I wanted to hit you with.
Yeah, that is one thing. Well, I'll get into that right now. But anyways, yeah. So signs. Here's what it is. I mean, some aliens show up, and how we're gonna deal with it, and that's the movie.
Yeah.
There you go.
But
Yeah,
it's unknown if there's aliens showing up. There's like a whole build up to the aliens showing
It's
up.
an alien invasion movie, but instead of it being like the whole world, it's from the eyes of this family that lives on this
It's a
farm.
small family.
But the audience knows it's aliens pretty early on, especially because
You see the cover art.
you saw the cover of the movie. But the movie, it lets you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It lets you know before the last like 40 minutes of the movie kicks off. It's like, yes, it's real.
Oh yeah.
Brace yourselves.
Oh, it is very, very real.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
We're-
just giving me chills, just like some of the scenes, man. All right.
Whereas the beginning is a little, it is still a little up in the air at the beginning. Is it happening?
It's like it's from the moment that you see that Mel Gibson is in the cornfield
Yes.
and you catch
Yes.
the calf.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, we're doing it. Okay.
I would say even before that, when they're just chasing around the house.
Yeah.
When you see it on
The
top of the
clicks and all
roof,
that,
which is
yeah.
early.
Well, I mean, at
Oh
that
my
point, it could
God.
still be some like Swedish women Olympians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some
Wait,
Scandinavian
Have we
women.
even hit stats first?
no,
No.
let's hit the
Okay,
stats.
let's
I'm just so
hit
excited to talk about signs. I love
Sorry.
this
Yeah,
movie.
I know. I'm all at it.
6.7 out of 10 on IMDb, 74%
That's
on Rotten
too low.
Tomatoes.
Too low.
104-minute runtime, made on a budget of $72 million, opening weekend of $60,117,000, and a worldwide gross of $408,217,000. Money, 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 money.
Well done.
One thing I really like about this movie is it's set in a small town.
Mm-hmm.
And Shyamalan does a really good job of writing it like a small town. Like everybody knows each other, and there's multiple callbacks throughout different points in the movie, and some of them are big and some of them are small. Like,
and multiple flashbacks throughout different points in the movie.
So, like for instance, there's a scene where the dog is sick towards the beginning of the movie, and Mel Gibson makes a comment about like, oh, well, we can call the doctor to come down and check it out. And then Rory Culkin's like, well, he's a people doctor. Will he know it? He's like, well, he'll know what to do with a dog.
Like, we don't have a vet. This is the best we got, dude.
There is a vet, though, and the vet is played by M. Night Shyamalan. It's Ray Reddy.
Yeah,
and that's
Ray
the
Reddy.
reason why he's not calling
That
it a
he
vet.
didn't want to go to the vet. That's
So
hilarious.
it's just little details like that I think really make it feel like a tight-knit community.
I'm just going to go out and
interesting.
say that this is the best role for M. Night Shyamalan in any of his cameos.
Oh, interesting.
This is the deepest role,
Well,
I'd say.
oh, like the longest one that doesn't suck?
Yeah, the longest one that doesn't suck and the one that's like actually consequential on the story, I'd say.
Yeah, because usually the more consequential he is, the worse it is.
Yeah.
and
this
the
is-
and his
Oh, I forgot
like,
about Lady in the Water. He's like a big part of it.
Yeah, he's a huge
Ugh.
part of that movie.
and his lack of acting really plays because
Yes.
of the awkwardness. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? There
it
is
works.
that he would just be like trying not to look him in the eye. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, I smushed your wife that one time.
Yeah.
Oh. I saw this movie when I was super young, and it's like some of the scenes are still super scary for me.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It's like the horror is ingrained because I had that same thing.
Yeah.
It's like this
It
movie.
brings it
a
back
lot of
every
it terrified
time.
it. Yeah.
yeah.
The one that doesn't get me, that used to get me a lot, though, is when the alien walks, like, does
No,
the
that one
Bigfoot-
doesn't get,
the
because it's
Bigfoot
so
walk?
made fun of.
No,
Yeah.
that one's so funny. That's one of my favorite scenes because of how funny it is. It's so, and then the
That
little kid like
bushies!
in
Yeah.
Spanish, you know what I mean? And then he says it like in English for the English
For the
audience.
English people?
Yeah. It's behind.
Yeah. That's it. The scariest part of this movie for me is, and it still haunts me to this day because I still had nightmares about it, is like when he's soothing Rory Culkin, he's just like, why aren't you in bed and stuff? And like, he's just like, there's a monster outside my window. And then he like calms him down and he's just like, do this whole story about him. And then he like, as he's about to leave, like you look out the window and it's like there by the air conditioner. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
Oh,
I remember when I saw this in theaters, I didn't even see what it was. Like, because it's
Oh,
so
really?
fast.
It is
I was
quick.
like, and it's dark too. It's
Yeah.
another dark movie.
It's a silhouette. Yeah.
I was like, what's up there? And it wasn't until I had like seen the movie at home that I was like, oh my gosh.
yeah,
it's
it's spooky, man.
That is a good startling one.
And the leg in the cornfield, that whole cornfield sequence
Yeah.
is great when you as the viewer also realize like, okay, he's out there with an alien.
Because you see it on Mel Gibson's face from like, well, I'm going to scare these a-hole kids off from like, I should probably go back inside.
yeah, to where like yeah.
I love the family dynamic of like the kids all being on board and then the uncle immediately also being on board a lot earlier than Mel Gibson. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But also really against it more than Mel Gibson.
Yeah, at the
He's talking about how there's a bunch of stupid bored nerds who
never got their girlfriends.
Yeah.
Why can't they get girlfriends? It's so funny, man. I love this. This movie is just like back to back, like awesome moments, like in these characters. I love all the moments when they go into town, like the bookstore
When they go to the
owners. The guy's
bookstore.
like super pissed about all the Coke commercials. Mel Gibson gets his
18 Coke commercials in the last hour.
in the same town. Mel Gibson gets his whole experience with Tracy Abernathy, the drugstore clerk who has to confess everything to him. And then like, oh my God, the brother's off with doing the whole army recruiter thing. That thing's super fun. Also, that army recruiter would probably be bros with Tarantino. He's got a weird foot thing too. Man, why are you here in this town when you could be making big bucks in the big leagues and getting your toes licked by beautiful women?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that line.
Okay.
Yeah, I love all the moments. The dinner scene,
Oh,
the Last Supper
Yeah.
is one of my favorite scenes. Of
and
all
it's
time.
one we reference all the time, right?
Oh,
Crying
God.
Mel Gibson
Crying
face.
Mel Gibson. All the tension, the weirdness of like, it's funny because he asks everybody what they want. He cooks everybody their perfect meal. You know what I mean? And it's like Dad thinks we're all gonna die tonight. Like,
Yeah, it really sets it in for the kids.
Yeah, and it's like one of the few moments like on film you like have that I had seen that up to that point where I think most people had seen it where like people are just preparing to die with their whole family and they have them like cook their last meal. I don't know. It's the subtle humor in all the dialogue is really great. There is a lot of humor in this movie, like laid out through it.
I love the alien language, the like groans and clicking.
Oh yeah,
The whale sound.
the camouflage,
Yeah, that's super
and
dope.
how they explain that the ships are probably like right above us and we just can't see it. There's all these dead birds that are just flopping down and stuff.
What a sophisticated technology and sophisticated race of people to come down and try and barehanded capture a bunch of people on a planet filled with the one thing that'll kill them easily.
Well, they don't need anything more than their hands because they shoot poison out of those bad boys.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
that's
throw
all they
hands.
need.
Their hands are so valuable to him. That's why that alien was so pissed that Mel Gibson cut his 2 fingers off. He
Yeah.
was like, "Bro, I will hunt you." They left me. I decided
They
to
left the
stay
entire planet.
so that I could kill your kid.
In the reconnaissance mission, they didn't realize, oh, these guys have a bunch of guns. Like,
Well, this is the
can't just
recon.
go
They
down.
didn't know yet.
This was the recon.
what I'm saying is that's a terrible recon job. Like, if you're doing
They
recon
haven't read
on
The Art of War, David. They're not from Earth.
yeah, they didn't
what?
read Sun Tzu's
They're
book.
conquering other planets. It's spelled out in the movie.
Those other planets
he
don't
thinks
have
we're
Sun Tzu
idiots.
either.
One thing I do like is that
They thought of us like Shyamalan thinks about his audience.
Yes, exactly.
at the end of the movie, the one thing that's nice and ominous is it's just like the aliens are leaving and then like they talk about it, or even when the aliens are leaving and the Rory Culkin's just like they could be back anytime. They could be preparing for more reinforcements. It's like, is this a good victory? I
Who
don't
knows?
know.
Maybe we'll be watching some Shyamalan movie 8 years from now, and at the end he'll be like, "Oh, also this is the same universe
is
as
from
Signs.
Signs.
We're doing it again."
This is Rory Culkin as an
That's
adult.
actually After Earth, guys. Dun-dun-dun, 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 dun-dun-dun.
Also, another point, the score is amazing. In this
Yeah,
movie.
the score is amazing. It's so
incredible.
good.
It's
Yeah.
effective. It itself is spooky as heck, and it's also just like composed super well.
Yeah, it's really great in that scene where Shyamalan hits us over the head over and over again. Oh, swing away, Meryl.
Swing away,
Oh, let me do all these really close in zooms on these glasses of water that I've painstakingly referenced over and over again in this movie. Oh, it turns out that's what injures the aliens.
So that is like a huge thing in it. It's also a huge like Shyamalan thing. You know what I mean? Shyamalan is super heavy handed with this stuff. He's not okay with you just like figuring it out.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes this one of the most Shyamalan movies. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
He hits you super hard with the faith thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, I like would take issue with that. But I feel like that's an argument for it to be a number one because it is what a good Shyamalan film that is also pretty like super representative of his work.
Yeah, and just, not as tight and not as well executed as The Sixth Sense.
The
But
movie,
as much.
The movie is also called Signs. So I mean, you definitely have like all the multiple meanings of the word once you know what I mean. Once it all comes together, you're like, oh my god, the movie's called Signs.
which is something that you usually feel about like 45 minutes into
Yeah.
the movie.
Oh, whoa, no.
No, but I mean, I feel like we haven't been shouting out Joaquin Phoenix enough. This is like the first time that I saw him as like, I was just like really into his performance. I thought this was a really good one for him. And I think opened up a lot of doors for him too.
Yeah,
Probably.
He had a lot of big roles right after Signs. And I think co-starring in this one helped him out a lot.
The dramatic parts of this movie work super well too. I mean, even the moments where they can cut away from the action, like when they're in the basement and Rory Culkin's having like an asthma attack and he has to like calm him down and stuff. You like really get locked into the moment. And then the whole dramatic scene with you finally seeing it in the flashback with his wife being pinned, realizing she's already dead and like she might have. And I love how he like chalks it up to like that. They say like the last few moments before someone dies, they say some
Like her brain was misfiring,
Yeah.
man. Like she was just talking nonsense.
No, it was fate.
Yeah.
It was God.
God!
Go back to the church. Go back to the church, Mel Gibson.
Yeah, it is weird that we like this movie, even though it's like over the top, like Destiny and Fate. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's super weird to me. I still love it.
And arguably a way more ham-fisted twist than The Village.
Yeah,
way more ham-fisted.
Nah, I still
where
hate the
every
twist.
single detail in the movie has to play into
Oh,
the
yeah.
final scene. It's like so over the top. That's what's baffling
It's
me.
very
about
Hollywood.
this decision.
but I don't know. I like it better than The Village. Way better than The Village.
Okay, well, It is a great movie, and I think, you know what? I would say, shoot, I mean, I think these are all really essential to watch. I mean, other than obviously the bottom like 5 that we were just trashing.
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, except for the ones that we explicitly told you just go ahead and skip and don't watch them.
Yeah, like 6 and up, I think, are for sure you should watch. Like Glass, The Village you might hate.
That's the weird thing about Shyamalan, you know? Like while I was doing the preparation for this, I just mentioned to my manager, like, I'm watching all the Shyamalan movies right now, and he just stopped and looked at me and he was like, does he make good movies? And he's made so many stinkers, almost an equal amount of stinkers as he has good ones, that it messes up your opinion of him overall as a director, you know?
I'd say right now he's barely over the cusp. He's still holding. He's like, out of 11, 7 of them are great to enjoyable.
And we'll see how old is.
Yeah,
it could be really good. It could be super dumb.
When I had to like explain Lady in the Water, because Raven had never seen it. She didn't even know it was like one of his movies or something like that. And I like was explaining it to her. And as I was explaining it, I was just like, man, this movie's so stupid. I'm like already hating it as I'm explaining it. I just want to stop and say, don't watch it. And that's pretty much what I did. Just don't watch it. It's so stupid.
Yeah, that's good. For your relationship, you shouldn't have forced her to watch that movie. That's something she could have resented you for.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would have.
Yes.
I would have been legitimately mad if you guys were just like, guys, this is like a must-watch movie.
Oh, imagine.
Yeah, right.
We might have, if anyone had said that, we probably would have.
You would have done it.
Hey, we're not doing like the channel anymore, so don't bother showing up on Tuesday.
We've actually stopped. It was too much. Lady in the Water broke it. Okay, well, anything you want to toss in about Servant? Please don't spoil, because I want to watch it.
That's right. Well, okay, yeah, like most of his movies, it's kind of hard not to spoil without talking it, but I will just say it's decent to watch for the first couple episodes. I think there's like
it's only 4, isn't it?
Oh, is it 4 episodes?
I thought it was
there's like 10 episodes.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was way less, but
it is an Apple TV exclusive. It's pretty good in the beginning, but I mean, it really runs dry, and then you really lose interest.
Oh wow! And there's a season 3 coming out,
which
too.
is, I don't even know how there's a season 2. It is a thin idea to go off of.
Oh wow! Yeah, there's like 20 episodes of this thing at least.
Yeah,
like 10 a season.
It was too watered down to even make through like the first season, to be honest. So
interesting. Okay,
that's my perspective. You might like it more, but you don't know.
Well, maybe I'll check it out if I ever get around to it.
That's number 3.
Just kicking,
that's number 3.
Just kicking the whole
Dude,
table.
I've kicked and tapped the table so many times this episode. I don't know what's going on with me.
Hilarious. Okay,
Don't
well,
worry about it.
Shall we kick it on over to character limit?
Just kidding. We already talked about Godzilla so much.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's much more we can say about
We've
it.
said it all. We did an entire podcast on Godzilla versus Kong. We did a character limit exceeded.
It's time for. Oh,
That's interesting.
yeah.
Pretty interesting. We'll try to keep it short and sweet because, oh boy, we've been talking
Dude,
for
this is
a long time.
This is the longest ranking episode. Might be the longest podcast.
It could be, David.
Might be.
This is coming from movieweb.com. If you're going to make a Gundam live action movie, it's probably best to have a MonsterVerse director at your side. And that's exactly what Netflix is thinking as they announce a Gundam movie is coming to their streaming app.
Oh.
They have recruited Kong Skull Island director Jordan Vogt Roberts to bring this classic sci-fi anime to life.
He is a good anime nerd.
Any more deets?
Yeah.
Do they tell you what Gundam? Is it a Gundam Wing thing? Is it
Who's writing it?
Gundam?
The working title is simply Gundam Y: The Last Man and Runaways. Gundam will stream worldwide on Netflix except for in China. Suck it, China, where Legendary plans to open the movie on the big screen. Oh, well, China gets to watch it in theaters.
That's
Suck it,
interesting.
everybody else. No release date has been announced, but it's possible that it won't premiere on Netflix until 2023
Oh my
due to the
God.
backlog of movies from 2020. They still haven't been crazy back order times right now. You know what I mean? In every industry, crazy enough. That's pretty much it. They don't really give anything away. You know,
I'm seeing that.
that's pretty much it. They just talk about Gundam after that a little bit.
I'm seeing that famed comic book writer who I don't know, Brian K. Vaughan,
Gotta ask Brandon.
That Brian K. Vaughan
is one. I know from experience. He's writing the screenplay and he's going to executive produce. I don't know what he's done, but it's interesting. I do know that the director for Kong Skull Island was pretty big on kaiju. So,
well, he wrote a comic book called Ex Machina. I don't think it all related to the movie, but interesting. Paper Girls and Saga, which is supposed to be a pretty good book. I haven't read Saga.
Interesting.
You know, Gundam's a weird one because there are things I really like about Gundam. As a kid, I really liked Gundam Wing, which was like a straight up war story. It was like these 5 teen boys, because it's the only people who can pilot giant robots, teenage boys.
And they're in high school.
Yeah, they're in high school. They're super edgy. They're fighting a war.
The Gundams, they're like very sharp edged.
That too, yeah, that as well. And I actually tried to go back and watch Gundam Wing. It was a little too like dated. There's some anime I can't go back to.
Gundam as a series has been around since what, like 30 years now?
It's been maybe 40.
Yeah,
it's been around since the 80s.
Super old.
And Gundam's also one that they just. I don't even know how many. There's got to be There's got to be like 25 different Gundam series,
and they're all very long,
and they're all unrelated to each other too. It's not like a same universe. It's like here's another story with giant robots. One I really liked when I was younger was G Gundam, which was like not at all a war. Most of them are wars of some kind, and in that one, it's literally like a fighting tournament.
Nice.
And every country has a Gundam that represents them. And it's
I've
like an
seen
Olympics
that one.
kind of
I think
thing.
I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one was really cool, and it was cool to see like, oh, this is what the American Gundam looks like, and this is what like Chinese Gundam would look like, and everything.
You bet it's got a gun.
Yeah. See, that would actually, I think that would be really fun for a Netflix show. I think the war stuff might be a little tough. I'm curious to see which direction.
I'm honestly a little worried that it's going straight to Netflix.
Netflix has not had a good run with anime adaptations.
Does not.
They're doing Cowboy Bebop now too.
Oh god,
which sounds
terrifying.
Stop.
I have no emotional investment.
Oh,
we're gonna do Cowboy Bebop for the channel.
Cowboy Bebop is fantastic.
At least a bonus episode.
The movie's great too.
I personally was never like a Gundam fan. Never really got into it.
Yeah.
Too Asian.
Fair. It's very
But some
Asian.
cousins I grew up with like had these toy trunks. They each had the toy trunk, and it was half filled with like Gundam figures. You know what I mean? The like big ones. And also X-Men ones that were the same size.
Oh, cool.
And it made for some pretty cool imaginary battles in my childhood.
Were they straight up action figures or were they the model kits? Because that was a big thing.
No,
And
I'm pretty sure they were straight up
Okay.
action figures. I don't think my cousins had the patience to build models.
I was really into the model kits as a kid. I remember like building those with my dad. We'd buy like some Gundam model kits.
Those are intense.
Paint them, put little stickers on them. They were so
Building
cool.
models is fun, but I was building
Yeah.
model cars.
Yeah.
And I built a model combustible engine that you could actually like fill with, I forget what, I think they recommended hairspray, and then you light a match and you see it like,
Whoa.
It's really cool.
That is really cool. I wish my Gundam had a combustible engine.
just some slight tweaking. You can make it happen, David.
Hey, well, I'm down for CLE if this movie ever comes out. We'll see
if we
gets
remember in
canceled.
3 years.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Or if we're all dead in 3 years. Okay.
When is the inevitable heat death of the universe supposed to happen again?
2 years.
2020.
Oh. Huh. Well, folks, it's Peeps and Predicts time, y'all.
Yo!
Danny, you're the host of this episode. Why don't you choose our peeps? Go ahead and grab this first predict.
Peeps and Predicts is the only segment on the internet that has real and fictional people going head to head in quite real fictional scenarios.
And who's our first peeps?
Our only peep, really.
Our only peeps. This is good. This is good. I think I know whose handwriting this is. Bruce Willis in Unbreakable versus your dad.
Yeah.
So is that my dad?
What is the perspective here?
So the way that I
in the movie's
imagine
like,
this,
you beat up my dad.
like we each argue it from our own points. You know what I mean? Because obviously we're all gonna defend our dads or whatever.
Well,
but I figure that's how your dad. You know?
Hopefully, there's no feats of strength involved in this. Okay, go for
Hopefully
it, Frank.
not. So this is also one that I just put in there today. And David, could you hand me that jar again? Because it is, how is it possible for Shyamalan to make as many garbage movies as good ones? Just asking. Love, Frank.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Well, while you pick out that one, I'll read this next one.
Not a predict at all.
Okay,
It's a little bit of a predicament.
guys, I think we got a win for Team Our Dads. Who is probably a sleep farter?
Okay. All right.
Definitely my dad.
More so than, yeah. I mean, can Bruce Willis even fart? Is that
Weird
considered
fact.
weakness?
Sorry for selling you out, Dad, but still, I didn't hear my dad fart till I was straight up like 19 years old.
Crazy.
And it was a very weird moment for me.
What?
And it happened in the middle of a laugh. And we all went,
Interesting. What a man of restraint.
Like we were like the kids just like cutting him and him being like, stop that. Stop doing that.
I mean, if Bruce Willis was going to fart in that movie, as the character from Unbreakable, it would have been when he was lifting all those paint cans.
Oh, God, yeah.
If you're not going to fart while you're bench pressing 350 pounds, when are you going to fart accidentally? You know what I mean? You're in control of your butthole at all times.
When you're in like a devastating train accident.
Okay, is this team our dads?
Yeah, our dads win on this one.
All right.
Good job, dads.
What's yours, Frank?
Real predicament is... who's more likely to love Whataburger?
Oh,
dang.
My dad.
Our dads.
Team our dads.
Because I don't even think
down.
Bruce Willis...
Has he ever even been to Texas?
He's just a fancy California liberal.
Whataburger. Yeah,
he probably likes In-N-Out better.
Yeah.
Well, this is a Philadelphia character too, though. So he's probably all about like the Philly cheesesteak or something. We're talking about how Philadelphia's got
burger chains up there.
It's got the best food in the world.
Like
White Castle.
White Castle. Yeah, gross.
Get out of here. Okay, Team our dads. They're the winners
today. Good job, dads.
Nice.
Oh my goodness.
I feel like this is like a Captain Planet moment where they all just like...
Yeah.
Danny, hit us with our last predict here.
Okay, so now we get to our championship round. Team our collective dads is going up against our reigning champ. Who could it be now?
I never thought our dads would team up together. How weird.
This is weird. It's crossover no one expected.
Yeah.
This is like Glass all over again. It's Alice from Resident Evil, our reigning champion.
My dad can totally beat Alice from Resident Evil.
I don't know about that.
Your dad might try to like hit on her.
Oh, definitely.
He might make a better steak.
He will make a better steak. Who would you trust more to water your plants and feed your pets while you are on vacation? My dad.
Famously not my dad.
My dad would totally like...
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
My
a
dad
dog
would
dude.
definitely do it.
Oh,
and he's got a green thumb.
My dad is a much better planter and overall interior designer than I am.
He's got a pecan orchard.
Like, my dad could take care of the plants for sure, but well, in his older age, I guess it would be fine.
He would get your mom to take care of the pets.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's one of those scenarios, I think.
Versus Alice, you really think she's going to hang around?
There's famous stories of my childhood.
She's real good at killing things.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's real good at cultivating things.
Well, you kind of have to be when you're the last person on Earth. You know what I mean?
She's not a person, though.
Yes, she is. She's a person.
You just scavenge.
Yeah,
you keep going. Person. You keep progressing through the levels, and you pick up the supplies as you go along, and you just have to ration them out.
Also, it's just like she has superhuman powers, so theoretically, couldn't she do anything better than just normal average day dads?
She could, but would you trust her to? Like, do you think this person with these superpowers, with all these really weird problems, you know her better than I do, David, but do you think she's gonna like do something as mundane for you as like...
I think if you asked politely, yeah, she's got no character motivation. She'll do whatever you tell her. That's the plot of the movie.
My puppy would probably eat one of her socks, and she'd probably get angry, and out of just like pure power.
Doc, she doesn't wear socks. She's wearing high heels the whole time.
She'd probably eat her high heels then.
It's probably some socks.
And then she'd
you
probably
could be
like
telling us anything right now.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah. She also has a dog for like 3 of the movies. It's like her sidekick. That's a lie. That's not true. She kills zombie dogs though. So if you need her to take care of your dog in that sense,
care of it.
What happens if while your dads are taking care of your dog, Umbrella Corporation releases the T virus, and now you got a bunch of zombie dogs on your hands? Are your dads gonna be able to take care of that dog?
That is a pretty good logical argument.
That's what I'm just saying. Whereas Alice is going to kick a falling pane of glass with her foot, and without breaking it, rotate the glass so that it chops the dog in half.
So if I can simplify your argument, what you're saying is your dogs and plants would be much safer with Alice as a protector than our dads.
Yes, safer.
Like it breaks down to the argument Alice could beat up our dads.
It goes into 2 ways. The first way is that she has superpowers. So any mundane task that needs to be accomplished arguably could be accomplished with a higher efficiency. And the second argument is,
how much does she know about meat?
If zombies get into the scenario somehow, which Alice is already tangled up here, who's going to take care of zombie dogs better?
Damn, David, I really wanted our dads to pull it off, but I think you really have me there. If we're just arguing from a totally factual point, not like we're doing some like ranking where like subjectivity would fall into place.
Yeah. Yes, in
you've got me
in
there.
this completely objective segment.
Yeah.
As opposed to the rest, the very subjective podcast that we
This
have.
may be uninformed movie reviews, but Peeps and Predicts were cold hard facts.
Yeah, this is unbiased
If not
movie reviews right now.
If not, we're what's the whole point? I can see your argument there, David.
I'll relent, but I will still say that my dad would be better at watching my stuff.
Well, I think that's another win for Alice. This
That's what it sounds like. Weird.
it's back. It's back, y'all.
We better not have this Batman problem again.
It is. We're gonna have to bring Batman back to get Alice out of here.
I think that's the day that Frank leaves the channel.
But at what cost?
Losing your sound guy.
That's dangerous.
/ co-host.
Yeah.
Well, we should really wrap this thing up.
Yeah, it's a long daddy.
Yeah, it is.
And so everybody that stuck around to this point, if you're still listening, thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
Let us know if we can send you like a gift certificate or something.
We have to send you
won't.
something.
We'll send you a copy of A Lady in the Water, which David's
Yeah.
about to get rid of.
Yeah, I'm willing to part with a DVD copy of Lady in the Water and After Earth.
I have a halfway printed.
Call now and you'll get After Earth.
Yeah.
I have a halfway 3D printed silver egg cup that I can send you, I guess. And you know what? I'll send you David's because
What?
it's not as cool as mine.
That's my championship cup, dog.
Second season, who cares? Anyways, like, share, and subscribe. Check out all the stuff on your favorite podcast apps. Check out our short form movie reviews. We'll have like a weird throwback for you. We'll have a video game playthrough coming up for you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah.
keep your eyes open for that.
It'll be weird because the video game playthrough will reference a different timeline because we didn't release it on time.
Yeah, just keep your eyes on the social media, wide-eyed and doe-eyed like Anya Taylor-Joy would.